We're back.
Oh, we back.
We are back. Welcome back to It's All Bad, our 50th episode. And I'm here with...
I'm Russian Danny.
I'm Keith.
Charlie.
And I'm Mike. Still Mike.
Yeah.
Still Mike.
We got a good
Mike.
group here. That's it.
Are we blowing it in the fact that are we blowing it in the fact that we don't do something where it's like, I'm Mike, I'm Danny, I'm Keith, and we're Charlie's Angels?
We are Charlie.
No.
That's
We
so
are
funny.
Charlie's Angels.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
dude.
Now we have to. Which angel I mean, I think to be fair, Danny's got to be Farrah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to be. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? There ain't no bald angels, but what do we got left? If I'm anybody, I'd be Bosley. Hello,
Yeah.
angels. That guy with the raspberry. And then who's the other one? Jill. Oh, I would let me be the sort of thin-lipped one, the cocky one with the bold. She always used to have that bold there. And if you would be Jacqueline Smith, I think Jacqueline Smith
Kate
is
Jackson.
Kate Jackson. Yeah, Miss Jackson. If you're nasty,
I'll be Jacqueline Smith because she had a big clothing line at Sears and shit, so she got paid.
and she was beautiful. She was my favorite at the time. I mean, I told myself that. I was always, but I mean, let's face it, Farrah was the shit.
It's interesting. It's hard to say because they're both stunning. I think that the best women in the history of film are from that era, and they're all mostly from that show.
It's
like
incredible. Cheryl Ladd,
Farrah Fawcett, Jacqueline Smith, Linda. What's the Wonder Woman chick's the best looking of all of them.
But we have, who do we got? We got today. We have Kyle from Texas, military person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Army.
Gabby,
I'm in Germany.
Gabby, who we love and who's been on the show before and is a friend and just of the show, and it's just she's great. And she's in LA. And then we got Steven and Jackson, who went to college together. Those dudes are insane and also really it seems quite brilliant.
Oh man, yeah, they were so
really
good.
smart and really disturbed, which is fucking always inspiring.
Some good hitchhiking.
Yeah,
good
hitchhiking. And then we got Julian from Encino.
Well, how weird is it that I met Julian a year ago to the day to when we recorded? How fucking absurd is that? I met him at Seth's birthday at Nada. You know Seth.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. How fucking
that's
absurd
random?
is that? Yes.
Oh, and then we record. Oh my god, that is weird.
He just reached out to our email. He didn't reach out to Danny.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a trip. And we got him on the air a year to the day that you had met him.
Yes, because it was Seth's birthday.
So fucking
Happy
crazy.
belated, Seth. The day we recorded this.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, that was good. That was meant to be. He was great. And we got John from Boulder.
Boulder John.
Yeah, and we want to give a shout out too for the folks at Cafe de Leche. They hooked it up. These guys, you guys go there all the time in Highland Park. I haven't been there. I haven't left my house in 10 weeks. But Cafe de Leche, as it's spelled, .net. And they hooked us up with some really nice coffee beans, and that was real nice of them.
Coupon stickers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Delicious.
Damn, what
Stuff
are
is amazing.
Coupon? God damn it.
I don't think I got one. You fucked me, Charlie.
No, I had to split it all up. I gave Keith the coupon because he said he goes there.
Damn.
But you guys got more. But you guys got more coffee, so. You know.
That I love. Yeah, I'm excited. I got out my bean grinder, and that coffee's good.
Yeah, I only got one bag of coffee. I got burned.
You got the coupon.
The coupon means I get 20% off while your guys' shit is free. I won there, Charlie.
You can have my second beans. I'll never use it all. You know, Yeah, exactly. I'm a Rhode Island. The Rhode Islander in me comes out usually after one bag of good coffee. All of a sudden, I feel like I got to go drink that Dunkin' Donuts. No, just kidding.
Yeah, but you can find them at cafedeleche.net.
Yeah,
Delivered locally and shipped worldwide, nationwide.
yeah,
Not worldwide.
And they're also donating coffee to the frontline workers at Hollywood Presbyterian today.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah, that's good people.
So
this
tight.
is another level of coffee.
It's so good. If Vic doesn't drink all of it before fucking I get a chance, then no, he made me a cup this morning, so we're good. We're good.
I think it's going to be a good episode because they're fans calling in, so they're not people we know, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, Charlie.
It's a different kind of thing. And thanks for everyone who reached out. This was a lot of fun. So hoping to do it again. Hopefully, once we're all back around in person.
Episode 100, we'll do it again.
Episode 100.
Yeah.
And thanks for
We've
made it a year.
Soon.
Yeah, merch getting printed this week.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, merch is coming. And maybe for episode 100, we could have 100 guests.
No.
Call in.
Yeah, no.
And just go for six
every
days.
single person that listens, all 100 people that listen to the show will call in.
And with that, welcome back. Here you go. All right. Enjoy the episode.
Are you on a bike right now?
I'm on the Peloton, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, at least you're getting use out of your stuff. I've got an elliptical at my house that no one touches.
Yeah, most of them become coat hangers. Where are you at, Kyle? Texas?
I'm in Central Texas. There's a little place called Caldwell. Luckily, I haven't been in lockdown or anything like that because I work at a lumber yard and hardware store.
Oh,
and
right.
we're considered essential, so I still get to get out of the house. But my wife, she's a teacher.
Oh man.
At a junior college, and they've moved everything online, so she's stuck in the house all day with the kids.
She probably hates it. My wife's doing classes online. She can't stand it.
Yeah, that's gonna be an issue in the fall because they're talking about doing blended classes, and many students are saying they're not going to enroll if they have to do stuff online. So it's
right.
We may eventually take a hit financially because of it.
Oh man. What's the closest big city to you? I just watched something where somebody was from Caldwell, Texas, on some show. But
the closest thing to us is College Station, and that's Texas A&M.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. After that it would be Houston, and that's kind of in the other direction.
Oh, okay.
Well, why don't you guys just start, and then Danny can jump in since we're limited on time.
All right, cool. See how Charlie just bosses us around like that, Kyle?
Yeah.
Like we're grown men and shit. Grown men. Some people have been in prison. He doesn't give a shit.
No.
Doesn't care. Doesn't care.
Well, if you guys are anything like me, you kind of need someone to keep me on track. So
that's right.
Oh God, if someone didn't tell me to shit, I'd just die.
But I hear you're mostly a drinker, which are my favorite stories because booze.
They're the dumbest.
It's by far the worst, decision-making device.
And see, people always underestimate alcohol because it's legal, and it doesn't. It can't knock you out all in one time unless you have absolutely fucking way too much. But my stuff for me it actually kind of started once I joined the Army. And if you know anything about the military branches, Army is the worst on chemical abuse. That means alcohol.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I drank.
Not the Navy, really?
No, because it's I don't know. I couldn't tell you that actually.
Probably hard to get. Well, because probably it's hard to get booze when you're out at sea. But I always had that in my mind that if I were to ever join the military, I'd join the Navy and they'd just let me be a pirate and just drink rum and make them omelets.
Well, Well, let's start. Give us a story of something terrible that happened under the influence of alcohol or something.
All right, yeah. So, like I said, I didn't really start doing a whole lot of drinking until I got into the Army. For me, it was like basic training in AIT. It really wasn't that bad. I did go out to some hotel parties on the weekends, and since I was underage, I'd give somebody some money, and they'd bring me back, whatever I could afford there. And by the time I got to Germany, I was 19 years old, and I felt like I had a handle on it. I could handle the drinking, which that's you're going to Germany with the wrong mindset if you're thinking that way. And
they don't drink in Germany at all, though, do they?
Oh no, hardly ever. There's not a brewery in every other town. What I really wanted to talk about was the one night that I wound up going to the red light district, and it was my first time there.
Nice.
But it started out, we went to the club that was on post, and it was kind of like our the way we always did things. We went to the club on post because the drinks were a little cheaper there. It was kind of like pre-gaming, I guess you could say. So at this point in the night, I've already had like probably 2 or 3 drinks, and Ron walks in and he says, "Hey man, come take some shots with me." And knowing Ron and how big of a loser and that he's a lightweight, I was thinking there's going to be 2 shots on the bar. When I walked up to the bar, I realized I could not be more wrong. And because what was actually stacked up on the bar, it was 6 shots of silver tequila for each one of us.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. So I saw that and I was like, okay, I need to say no and turn around and walk away, but I didn't. What was actually happening was this little game that we had where someone was going to get fucked with every weekend. And I didn't know that Jason and Ron were plotting against me. And in this group of like 5 or 6 guys, someone was always getting fucked with every weekend. And then the next weekend, that person would go get his revenge on, whoever messed with him. Luckily, it was just those 2 guys. But anyways, so I get up there and I grab this first shot and I'm like, all right, I really don't want to do this, but here we go. And we had this, I'm trying to remember the toast. I think we did this ridiculous ass toast. It was something like, here's to pussy and gunpowder. One can bring us into the world and the other can take us out. But we love the smell of both. And so I take my first 3 shots real fast. And then, I take the last 3 shots. And Ron, typical Ron fashion, lightweight that he is, starts sliding his other shot glass over to me. And he's coughing, he's dry heaving, he's making a good show of it, and then tells me, "You got to kill it, man. You got to kill it." So I pick it up and I take the shot, and immediately I am on fire. Between all the laughing, the bartender finally gained his composure enough to tell me, "Obviously, Kyle, all 6 of yours were tequila. The bottom 3 of Ron's were water."
Oh shit!
Oh.
So when I took that last shot, I took his last shot of water. And I realized right then and there that I was going to get fucked with that night. It was my turn. And then I'd already had probably 3 Jack and Cokes or something like that. So we're not looking at just 9 shots of alcohol. We're looking probably like 10 or 11 in a very short period of time. I'm getting fucking worse and fucking worse and fucking worse. And then finally, someone else who I hung out with a lot happened to be in the room, and he goes, "Dude, I know what you guys need to do." He talks about his girlfriend back in Texas all the fucking time. I am so goddamn tired of hearing about her. You need to take his ass to the red light district. And as soon as he said that, I put down my pool cue and I turned around and I started walking out of the room, but I couldn't get out of the building fast enough because there was Ron. As soon as I stepped out the front door, had me up across his shoulders in a fireman's carry, and they're taking me toward the cabs. By the time we get into the cab, I've had my first blackout of the night. And the only thing I hear is one of the guys say, "Der Poolhaus bitte," which was
that's a good sign always. Just in the cab to go out. First blackout.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, and I hear one of the guys say "Der Poolhaus bitte" to the cab driver, which is our slang for the red light district.
Uh-huh.
And
oh yeah,
on the drive there, I of course blacking out. I didn't know where I was going, and I always prided myself on being able to pick out landmarks, do enough mental land nav, so that if I ever if at the end of the night I ever had to walk home, I at least knew which direction I needed to go,
Right.
and kind of basically where I needed to be. Obviously, that wasn't happening, and I think I voiced that at one point, that concern at one point, because I do remember Jason saying, "Come on, Kyle, we're assholes, but we're not dicks. We're gonna make sure you get back to your room." So we get to we're in this cab, and when the cab driver finally stops, I feel like I'd stepped out of the cab into an Edgar Allan Poe story, because he parked underneath this dead tree, and I say dead. It was February, so it naturally would have already lost its leaves, but it looked like this fucking tree had given up on life.
Yeah.
So you got the dead tree on my left-hand side, and I look down the street, and the buildings look all run down. Every other or every third street light is out, and they have those yellow bulbs that don't attract bugs.
Yeah.
And it's because no one wants to live near the red light district. There's always going to be something going on there, you know. And so, I mean, I just immediately felt like I was stepping into a cask of Amontillado.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just thinking. I'm like, God damn it. That doesn't sound fun or sexy.
No.
You know, just like coming out of a blackout, you wake up in a nightmare, and it's like, let's go see what's over here.
Yeah. I'm standing in front of this window. There's 3 windows. They're like floor to ceiling, and they all open like doors, and there's a girl in every one. All 3 of them are pointing at me because I'm standing there so drunk, bouncing off my friend's shoulders. And they're like, he's too drunk. We can't do anything with him. Somehow they let me in the building. I'm pretty sure they broke a couple of rules by letting me in. But Jason told me later, because I don't remember this, that the girl that stayed downstairs with me, she took a chair off into the corner somewhere where I couldn't be seen from the street. So when they came back downstairs and I was on the couch that the girls usually sit on while they're waiting for suitors, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
They had no idea how I wound up on that couch, and really neither do I. But here's where the real embarrassing shit starts. So I'm sitting on this couch, and I feel someone hit me on the back of the head, and it's Ron. He's standing over me, and he's just laughing his ass off. And I can hear someone laughing off to my left, so I roll my head over, and there's one of the girls in her lingerie, just looking sexy as hell. But she's laughing. She won't show me her face. Her hand is over her mouth. She's laughing so fucking hard. And then I hear Ron and Jason start laughing, so I turn my head over and look at them, and Ron points at the windows. And this couch has a real low back on it. So my head, when I'm laying my head on the back of the couch, I'm actually looking at the ceiling. And I was passed out, so I'm sure that I was snoring. But when I picked my head up and looked out that window, there's about 6 or 8 guys out there, and they all just start fucking clapping.
No way.
Yeah, and one of them,
amazing.
One of them actually, I think, starts whistling, and I have no idea what the hell's going on. Not a fucking clue, because like I said, it's another blackout. But I came to, and Ron, he's like, "All right, show's over, man. Let's get up, let's go." And as I move to get up off the couch, I feel something sliding on me. And I look down, and there's coins all around me. They're on the couch, on my clothes. They're all on the floor. And it took me a minute to figure out what might have been happening there.
Uh-huh.
And it was, like I said before, the back of that couch was low. My head's back. My mouth is open. Those guys are playing basketball.
No
way.
And in fact, I think I remember I had a busted lip. Later on, I think I felt that later on. So I think one of them got pretty damn close. But and then these coins they're throwing at me, they're Deutschmarks, they're Euro coins, they're Pfennigs and cents. So these are. So these coins aren't really real small or anything, but I did have enough presence of mind to grab up all those motherfuckers and shuffle them in my jacket pocket.
Dude, that's amazing. They're playing coin toss in your mouth?
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of what I think, is they're trying to wake me up. Because, what do you want to see when you go to the red light district? You want to see the girls. You don't want to see a drunk American soldier pass out on the couch.
Right. That's great.
And so I get up and I actually start walking, and I realize something else is wrong. And I look down and my pants are open. Even on the ride home, I don't know where we're going. and I don't know where we had been because I'm constantly looking down at my pants because I thought I see lipstick at the base of it.
No way.
And Jason actually put me to rest on that one, but he made me wait 3 days. He said what she did was she took her lipstick out, rubbed it on her finger, and then rubbed it at the base of my cock. So it looked like I'd gotten a blowjob while I was passed out. And so I'm thinking, oh man, I fucked up again. What the fuck? And but we get back to post, and I've got all those coins that I'd sorted out, all the change, and Ron and Jason are already out of the cab paying the cab driver, and I said, oh, and here's a tip, and he had a coffee cup sitting in his console, and I just throw the coins in there, but what I didn't notice was that it was full of coffee. So there's a volcano of coffee that gets all over this guy's Mercedes-Benz taxi cab. I mean, it's on his console, on his seat, and he's having to sit in a wet seat the rest of the night. You know, in fact, for the rest of my time in Germany, anytime I walked up to that taxi stand, he told me no. He wouldn't allow me in.
Hey, Kyle, before we let you go, because we got to get on the next guest. Have you ever seen a ghost?
No, but it's kind of a weird story. One of the buildings I was living in, it used to be, so this whole compound used to be owned by the German army, and some of the buildings by the Nazis.
Where you're at?
I never heard it because I always lived on the second floor. But on the first floor, there were guys that could swear they'd hear screaming in like 2 or 3 German voices, and someone else screaming in pain every once in a while.
Oh fuck, that's dark.
Do you wonder what that could have been?
Yeah, so and it came from a part of the building that wasn't used. This part of the building was abandoned.
Probably just one of those little tickle parties the Nazis used to have, you know?
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
fucking Nazis.
All right.
Well, it was great having you on, brother.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. And I don't know. I wanted to read something, but I think since we may have to.
And thank you for your service. In all those whorehouses. And, I really want to say that I've never felt more like my tax dollars were at work, knowing that you were on the case, Kyle.
Hey, I actually never did go in there for the purpose they were intended. So you know, you can feel safe with your
let you tell it, Kyle.
No.
Thank you guys for having me on, and thank you guys for all the entertainment. It was a pleasure meeting you all, and hopefully I'll have a chance to come back on and tell you some more of my fuck ups.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Love that.
Yeah,
right, thank you.
Hi, Gabby.
Hi.
Hi, Gabby.
Hi.
Man, your hair looks.
Bye, Kyle. I only cut the end of Kyle's story with the lipstick on his wiener.
Yeah.
The lipstick on the wiener. Oh wait, I get it. Okay, Charlie, I just figured it out.
Mike can't hear us. I don't think Mike can't hear us.
Let's just kick it off. Mike's web browser isn't loading at all.
Okay.
Anything.
All right.
So, sorry. Let's thanks for coming on, Gabby.
Thank you so much for asking me. It's so nice to see you. It's the only thing I've really done this whole time. I
miss you, Gabby. I miss seeing your face.
Oh, I miss seeing you guys too. Thank you. I haven't even been going to that many meetings.
Dude.
You know what? Yeah, me.
To be honest, I hate them, but I'm doing them.
I'm so glad.
I mean,
because everyone else is like, I'm going 6 times a day, and I'm on my Peloton, and I really. What have I've been baking a lot, cooking a lot, doing some gardening.
What's the deal?
I mean, everything's dying that I'm gardening, but
are you guys are the kids? Are they in online school, or what's the deal? Are they emailing? What is it?
Mark's son Alex, his school already was very set up with this. It's a private school. It's really so. But Lang's school that I love. Let me put it this way: he didn't get on class till 2:00 today because he was up till 4 a.m. playing Fortnite, and I think he made it to 1 class. It's not going well.
It's not going well for anybody. Just so you know. Not a single person.
Really?
Nobody is having a good experience. You're the 30th parent I've talked to. Everybody hates it.
I feel like I'm failing, but I can't get them to do the work. There's nothing I can threaten them with that's profound enough.
Right. I hear you.
I mean, I haven't tried violence, but I don't know if that's going to go well. He's pretty big now anyway.
He's always been big. Hard. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, welcome back, Gabby. You're one of the guests that people are constantly like, dude, Gabby, what the fuck?
No.
You know, yes. No. Swear to God. Yes.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, the guys who
don't believe you.
These guys who want to make like cartoons out of these, you know? Your drug dealer story is one of the ones they want to do.
Oh. Yeah. Well, it felt like a cartoon, to be honest.
Yeah.
You mean you mean the shotgun?
Yeah, that went well.
My unsuccessful shotgun.
Yeah, the best part of it is you literally had a gun and it still went sour.
Yeah. And then I told he broke it over broke it on me.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that part?
Yeah.
The stock came off the. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, not really my best Bonnie and Clyde moment.
Dude, you know what you just reminded me? I remember, man, years ago, me and these dudes, we wanted to go rob this drug dealer in San Dimas, right? And then it started raining, and I was wearing like a jean jacket, but my other buddy was wearing there was four of us. One of us was wearing this guy Kyle was wearing a raincoat, and but the rest of us were, we were wearing jackets, but it started raining. And we stopped somewhere at somebody's house because he had to go to the bathroom. And he came and got in the car. We're driving from Covina to San Dimas. We're all armed, right? And I'm like, what is that smell? You know what I mean? And all of us are like, Jesus Christ. So like we get out of the car. We're all armed. This is like, on a Sunday evening. And we all like pull over and get out of the car. We're like looking to see if we stepped in dog shit or anything. We get back in the car, start driving. And I'm like, dude, what is that smell? You know what I mean? I mean, it smelled horribly, right? We get out again. I mean, there's only probably 6 miles we're driving to this house. We get out again and we're like looking and everything. And then we start like smelling each other. And the dude with the raincoat who went to the bathroom at our friend's house, when he went to the bathroom, apparently he took a shit and the shit ended up in the hood of the raincoat. So it was.
Oh my God.
Right here. He had a raincoat hood full of shit. And like, we're like, dude, this is not happening. He's like, I'll wash it out. I'm like, dude, you're not bringing that thing in here. Like, you want to wash it out or fill it with fucking feces? And
oh man.
What? So you were saved by shit?
No, we ended up.
Did you guys?
We got there and the dude wasn't home, so we racked what we could and then stole the garage door opener to come back at a later time. Then I got busted.
Very smart. Very
Come on,
smart.
Gabby, it never goes right on my watch. Oh man. All right.
All right. What I was thinking about what story to tell you guys. I don't know if you fuck. Okay, I thought I would tell you this story because I'm gonna show you something, right? Okay. So this is because we were just talking about San Francisco.
Yeah.
This is from a fan, right? And this is my name's been burned in there with which I'll get to in a minute. Okay, so this was probably 1991, and I'm strung out, of course, and I go to San Francisco, and my friend, I had moved up there in the 80s, I had crashing on a friend, moved.
Yeah,
I drove up with some friends and got stuck there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but only for, I was maybe there for 4 or 5 months, but so I knew a lot of people in the city, and my best friend, Nancy Drew, had stayed up there. So I came back to visit her, and I'm very painfully thin. I have video of it somewhere. It's really cool, but I'm super strung out, and she's doing some recreational speed,
right,
daily. And this was before the San Francisco it is now. And there was all these old naval shipyards and abandoned shipyards over by what's McCovey Cove now. So over on the Army side of San Francisco by Candlestick Park. And but back then it didn't look like that. This is near Hunters Point, all that kind of area. And it didn't look like that. And this whole seafront property was, nice pool. Oh, nice pool, Keith.
Keith just
from the Peloton to the
pool. I wasn't looking, and I heard Keith just go
rough. But I think so. This abandoned shipyard. So Nancy takes me over there, and there's a lot of people living there, and there's half sunken boats with people living on, like small sailboats, and they're literally half sunken, but people are living on the unsunken part.
No way.
And I swear to God, this one dude was living anyway. But so Nancy had this boyfriend, this guy that she was, I don't know, she liked. He seemed like the king of the tweakers there, and he lived underneath this camo netting, and he had pathways. I mean, it was fucking huge, like this weird outdoor warehouse kind of thing. It had no roof except what he had built with this camo netting, and it was probably, half a city block big. It was really fucking big, and he had tons of shit, and it was this weird pathway. He had been there for a long time, 20 years or something, and built it up, and there was a lot of people coming and going. So I'm hanging out with her and this dude and all these other tweakers and strange people in this complex behind a big fence, corrugated tin fence, and I'm starting to get sick, and my son just walked in. Hi, Lang. Yes, sorry.
That's all right.
That's my kid.
Starting to get
so
sick.
weird to go from an abandoned naval shipyard. There's my son, who's never known of meth, already at 12. It's so crazy.
That's shocking.
I look at him. I was younger than he is now when I left home.
Is that true?
Which is so strange. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You were.
Yeah, I was. He's 12. It's in November.
Yeah.
He had turned 12. I turned 12 in November, and then by that following February is when I moved out.
At 12 years old.
At 12 years old. So, and we're already past that. We're in May. So he's 3 months older.
Oh my God.
Than I was when I moved out. But anyway, so I'm in this naval shipyard, and there's just all kinds of people coming and going, and I'm starting to get sick, and I've got no hustle in San Francisco. It was a very hustly city at the time.
Right.
And I said to Nancy, I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to try to come up with some money. And this guy said, I know where you can get some money. And I'm thinking, okay, where?
Yeah.
And he said, there's miles of copper wire sunk in the bay, in the San Francisco Bay. They sunk it during World War II for communications. So tip to all you scavengers out there. I don't know if it's still there, but so he told us about this copper wire. So he goes, all you have to do is get it out of the bay and you can sell it. And when you're dope sick and you've been on speed, that sounds like a totally logical thing to do, right? Like, sure, we can go get it out.
Yeah.
So
I'm plotting a trip up there now.
We go with this guy to this abandoned field. I'm driving this old, beat up, really rinky dink Toyota or Datsun pickup truck, one from the 70s. And I'm driving through this field with Nancy and this guy. And we find he had this boat with a come along winch, and he had pulled up a section of it. It was in the water, and the cable wire was coming up. This is a totally true story. Cable wire's coming up, and he's got a section of it. So we get in this boat, and we're yanking up this wire.
Oh my God.
And I can't remember how we got any length of it off, but we got probably a 10-foot section of it into the boat, which almost capsized the boat. We got back to the shore. We got it back in the truck. And at this point, I don't even remember where the guy was, but it was Nancy and I. and it fucking weighs a ton, right?
Right.
Because it's not just little wire; it's encased in lead.
What?
Well, I didn't know what it was encased in, but it was encased in. What I later figured out was lead. It was encased in this thing. So this is probably about like maybe 5-10 inches in diameter.
Yeah.
Right? Or no, 5 inches diameter, 5 inches in diameter, maybe 10 inches in circumference or something. It's, it's pretty hefty. And so fucking heavy. I get the truck stuck on these railroad tracks. They're going this way, and I got the truck on the, how you accidentally do that. I got it stuck, got the truck off of them, totally destroyed the axle of some truck we had borrowed. I'm sure of it. I think it was Nancy's boyfriend at the time we had taken the truck from. But so we get back to the shipyard, and it's probably 2:00 in the morning, and Nancy goes off tweaking, and I start trying to get the cable wire out of the casing. And this guy is sitting there, this weird, total bearded glass dude, and he's sitting there next to me, and I am, I'm half the size then as I am now. I mean, I'm really frail and sickly, and I have this hatchet, and I'm hacking at this casing, and I think once I hack to one side, it's just going to fall open, right?
Right.
No, it's not going to fall open. It's lead, and it, like I got to get through it, and I've got to pry it open, and it takes me all day. Takes me all of the night and almost all the next day. And this guy is sitting there for me to pry it open. And I finally get it out, and we unwound it. It had this like greased paper wrapping around the copper wire, and it had the date of 1942 on it.
No way.
It was so fucking crazy. I swear, it was so cool. But they had sunk all this wire for communications during World War II. Anyway, so I got this length. I even sold some of the lead for scrap. And this guy who was sitting there next to me the whole time I was doing it, he had a magnifying glass and he burned my name into this with the magnifying glass.
No way.
Swear to God. And then he wrote me a letter on the back of it, which I can't understand, but
That's amazing.
I think I'm something. I don't know. But apparently his name was Alex, and he put an anarchy A around the A, which I like. And he wrote, so it was 1995, 6/19/1995. So I was off by a few years. But and he told me that he was related to the Kennedys. I don't know if that's true. But so if there's a guy named Alex out there who remembers burning someone's name into a fan blade with the magnifying glass while she was extracting copper wire.
How much did you get for the copper?
I was really surprised. We got quite a lot, and I was thrilled.
Yeah.
I was thrilled. I thought I'm quite a lot for me, and back then maybe $600.
Oh wow!
Right?
Wow.
Yeah, we took it to this metal. Yeah, and strung out homeless. It was really a fortune. I thought, I'm set. I'm set for like a week. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be sick for a week. Yeah. This is going to be great. And I paid off. I split it with Nancy, and I was sick the next day. Right?
Did Nancy? Was it just you cracking the lead open, or did the guy help?
No, the guy just sat there. It was just me cracking the lead open.
Dude, that is.
But he was very sweet. I didn't want his help. So
yeah.
I would have refused.
How's Nancy today?
I don't know. I think she's gone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I tried to find her. I actually called her mom. Her father passed away, and I called her stepmom about 3 years ago, and she gave me her last known number, but she had been doing a lot of speed.
Yeah.
But she was amazing. Huh. Nancy Drew. She was amazing.
Hey, Gabby, did you ever go to that squat that was at the old bowling alley in Hollywood?
No, I don't even know it. I went to Hotel Hell, Garden Court Apartments.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah.
What it was like?
Oh God, it was amazing actually. And So it was on Hollywood Boulevard, across the street from the Roosevelt, where, like, next to the Chinese Theater, where that big shopping center is now.
Yeah.
And so it was. I just went there. I only went during the daytime because some friends of mine were staying there, but it was strange and it was a little scary. But it was surrounded by. It was all boarded up. You couldn't see anything behind it by those big. They put posters on them. I don't see them anymore, but they used to surround all these old abandoned spots with them.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called. There's some name for them, but then they would have posters or whatever. But Hollywood was so run down back then.
Yeah.
It's nothing like it is now. I mean, nothing. It's unrecognizable. I mean, you had this abandoned building. So it was called the Garden Court Apartments, and it was this old, beautiful apartment building that was built around, I think it's like a swimming pool area, but it was probably built in the 30s.
Right.
So it was quite ornate. It was 2 stories. It still had a ton of furniture in it.
Really?
So imagine if, it's still, when I went, it had a ton of furniture in it, but, no electricity, obviously. A lot of people just squatting there, mattresses and trash piled up, and
all punkers, right?
No, there was a lot. If it would have been all punkers, I would have felt safe, but it was all kinds of people. A lot of strange people lived in Hollywood. There was this dude, Moses, who used to walk Hollywood Boulevard back then, who was always very nice. He was very nice to me, and super tall Rastafarian guy, the first like real Rasta I ever met. And but the Hollywood was filled with a lot of strange characters.
Right.
A lot of young working lads, shall we say, more young working lads than even the ladies.
Oh,
and
really?
Huh.
Yeah, lots of young boys, and in that part of Hollywood.
I gotta send Gabby those pictures of that magazine I sent you guys. Was it called Wrestling Magazine? Do you remember this, Gabby? Dude, I'm at work with that art department girl, Joanna, and she listens to the podcast, and she goes, "I'm surprised you guys haven't talked about Wrestling Magazine." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Right? And she goes, but she was like doing speed all through the 90s, right? So way past, you know what I mean? Like even in the early 2000s, I think. But she goes, I can't remember. I'll send it to you, Gabby. It is mind blowing, and I don't remember it. Nobody I know from Hollywood remembers it. But
and it's from the 90s. When's it from?
It's like 90s to the early 2000s. But I don't have my phone on me. I'll send you the pictures of it. But it's weird. It's called Wrestling Magazine, but it's like a thick magazine. You know what I mean? Like I'd say it's the equivalent of like a Harper's Bazaar or something, right? But it's just all it is pictures of like, nude dudes, probably all in their like, 18 to 25.
So like a Tom of Finland sort of vibe.
Yeah, and they're all nude dudes. Maybe it was the 80s. I can't remember, but anyway, because there was a lot of like haircuts from like.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Nude dudes.
It was a lot of like haircuts. Oh, there's Mike. It was a lot of haircuts from like like that, like Chip's haircuts. So, like that California late 70s, early 80s. So, and it was like
kind of.
I'm gonna send it to you, Gabby. She brought him to work to show me, so I took some pictures of them. But it's like Tom and Nick were really going at it in the living room, and it's like remember it, Danny? There's thousands of dudes in this magazine, all different dudes, and it's just that they were just all these drug dudes. That some dude, some weirdo, he would pay them to wrestle naked, and take pictures.
No,
I mean it is wild, like. And like,
wow,
I thought it was going to be a lot of like punkers and like heavy metalers, but it's really more like that, just like 80s California, kind of like regular dude up to a stoner. You know what I mean? Like it is weird.
Yeah.
And I don't remember it at all. And she had a few of them, she was like a deep tweaker.
Never heard of
like
it.
Deep Silver Lake tweaker.
Maybe so it was a circus of books.
Oh, it might have been. Yeah. Did you
guys see the doc yet? I haven't seen it.
I saw it I saw the ad for it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it.
It's pretty great.
Oh, good.
I started it. It's like I'm like 30 minutes in, and then I got really tired. But the first 30 were so good.
Yeah, it's great.
Really? Oh, you were hooked.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice. Maybe tonight. Nice.
I mean, it's Circus of Books. What's not to love it? You know, I mean,
just
fuck.
mayhem, man.
Yeah.
It's always mayhem.
They were nice.
Yeah, I mean, I went to that place every single. I went to there every day because we would buy whippets from there. You know, we would buy fucking box after box. Like we would buy them out. I think they would let us know, like, hey, we got a shipment coming Tuesday, and we would come in there and buy all of their whippets.
Whipped cream?
Like the whipped cream chargers, the little things.
They
you know,
sold those?
I didn't even know they sold that shit. Oh wow!
They also sold Rush, which I did not. I think I've mentioned this before. Where like I did Rush, which is like what's it called?
Amyl
Poppers.
nitrate?
Right? Poppers. Yeah, amyl nitrate. I did it for 5 years, not knowing that there was any like gay stuff to it. You know, I mean, I should have figured like I'm going to the Circus of Books at 1 a.m. in the morning with dudes being like, oh hey, you know, like, but I didn't even, until I got sober, I didn't realize there was anything sexual that came along with poppers. I was like, oh, that's that stuff you do like in between getting real drugs,
poppers,
you know, that
are they
keeps
all
you.
the same thing? Poppers and whatever you
poppers are and nitrous oxide are two different things. Poppers is amyl nitrate.
No, that's what I was asking. Is it the same thing as locker room poppers?
Yeah, locker room.
Yeah. Sorry.
Which is, I guess, they call it that because that's what they used to use to like. They used to use a compound of that solution to like clean out lockers and shit. And
I think it was supposed to be
it
was supposed to be like an air freshener.
Yeah,
like you
put
a drop in
imagine
it
just
and
all those dudes
decay.
fully perved, just a whole soccer team full of fools, just agape, ready to go out there for it. Like,
can I say?
I don't know if I'm ready to play, but I know my ass is wide open.
I'm so glad none of us here ever got like really into huffing. When you meet somebody who's done a lot of huffing, their fucking brain is gone.
Really?
Oh yeah.
They're not smart? It's not smart? Okay. I didn't know.
I don't.
Back in the, does anyone remember in the 80s? I mean, not you, Danny or Charlie, but and people would do a lot of liquid paper, and then they'd have white all over their face.
Oh.
I remember dudes with spray paint on their face.
Yeah, the original gold grill of just like, hey, you got a little something on the bottom of those teeth, bro.
Alexis
How's
and
it
Finn
going?
Alexis and Finn were doing graffiti in the LA River, like after a storm, right? And they were doing it, and all of a sudden they saw a body floating, and they're like, oh man, right? But all of a sudden, the body just stopped and stood up, and he had like a silver mouth, and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? And there's this Mexican dude, he's just floating down the river cruising, and he'd been huffing paint. And then he's watched him for a while, and then he's like, hey, you guys got an extra pan of paint? And Alexis said they gave him a can of silver, and he huffed it a few times, and then just laid on his back, said bye, and floated off down the river.
Oh man, that is amazing,
man.
Do I have anything else? We're almost out of time, but I was what was I was gonna tell you guys something, and now I've forgotten. Shit.
Tell us.
I'm so glad that you were able to touch base on the Hollywood squats, because people who didn't go to Hollywood in the early 80s never saw that. Because to me, I'm from Covina, and that shit was like Mad Max. I was like, what the fuck is going on in these buildings? I'd never seen anything like that, you know?
Yeah. The best one, though, was the down the street in what is, oh, God. What's the building that's Art Deco that's a very nice hotel now on Sunset Boulevard?
The Argyle.
No.
Used to be.
It's on Sunset down near where House of Blues is. It's on.
It's now it's called. It used to be the Argyle. Then it was. Now it's a Sunset Tower.
No, maybe. Anyway, it was abandoned. I think it was abandoned in the 80s.
Dude, I'm telling you,
and then it was filled with people.
There was a bowling alley, Gabby, that was like that. Go ahead.
Huh?
Those days are done, huh? There's no more squats. Like that shit's over, right? Or full still squatting.
What were you saying, Gabby?
Real estate's too expensive. Has anyone ever talked about the VATS in San Francisco?
No.
That squat? It was down near the Embarcaderos. If someone's listening and they know better, feel free to correct me. But it was down near the Embarcaderos, and it had been an old brewery. I have pictures of it somewhere. It had been an old brewery, and then it was abandoned, and so people started squatting in there, and so they would build. It was these big tanks, right? They were round, and they had a round door that you crawled in, and the floor was round, so people would build platforms, and it was filled. It was like probably 7-8 stories tall, filled with these giant beer vats with people living in them. It's called the Vat.
Fuck.
I never lived there, but I went to a lot of parties there. And you'd open the door like this, you know what I mean? It was round like hatch, and then you'd crawl through a tunnel, and then you'd be in this giant thing where they'd have to build. They were very industrious, though. I mean, I think about that now. I don't know a lot of homeless people who are building platforms, but we were very industrious back then.
Well, now they're just like,
my son's come back. I'm on the camera with a bunch of people. Because I shut off your internet because you called me a dumbass. He called me a dumbass today, so I shut off his internet.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming, Gabby.
Yeah.
All right.
Gabby.
Yeah, Gabby.
It's so good to see you, Gabby. We love you,
Gabby.
Love you guys too. So nice seeing you.
Bye.
All right.
Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Be careful
Bye.
out there.
Bye.
Bye, hon.
Oh, you too. You too.
Yeah.
Bye.
I'm locking it down. Bye.
Hey, Jackson, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, sir. How are you?
What's up? How's it going?
Good, man.
Good.
Dude, it's so fucking tight being on a Zoom meeting with you guys.
Give me one quick second, fellas.
Look at Keith just showing off. Fuck.
Oh, shit.
Look at this dude, California life. Is this a terrible time, Charlie, if an old man had to urinate? Is this a terrible time?
No, let Mike urinate.
Mike, do whatever you got to do. We'll just keep going. Hop back on.
All right. I just have to. I apologize.
All good. I might have to drop a deuce at some point. 2.5 hours straight is pretty intense.
Do it. Goddamn.
I think it's kind of great. Hey, Steven, how's it going, man?
I'm going good. How about yourself?
Good. Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate you guys coming on.
No problem.
Fresh blood. Dude, how you guys handling this lockdown?
Oh, well, really just taking it one day at a time. It's a really interesting thing.
We're smoking a lot of weed.
That's great.
Let's be honest.
You know what, dude? My buddy, my buddies up north, they're like weed dudes, up in Shasta, and they told me that like they can't even keep up with the demand now. They said,
I believe that.
Makes sense.
The prices have doubled up there. Like, and they got
really.
I didn't tell you that, Danny. They got
no.
Dude, last week Kelly had 2 dudes flying from Atlanta, a dude from Maryland, and 2 dudes from New York, and.
Wow.
I was talking to him. I'll tell you the trippy thing. The dude's from Atlanta. One of them, it's like this rapper dude. But like his old lady works at Atlanta General or whatever, some big hospital. And she said they're not overwhelmed at all. Like the dudes in Georgia aren't even tripping. Probably because they're stoned.
They're not even on. I don't think they were even locked down. I have a friend that moved out there, and she's like, the mayor don't give a fuck in Atlanta. Like they don't care. She's like, barber shops are open, nail salons are open, bars are open. They don't give a fuck.
That's wild. Where are you at, Steven?
I'm in Los Angeles right now.
Oh, okay.
SoCal. Yeah.
Where are you, Jackson?
Yeah. I'm up in NorCal.
Oh, you are. Where about?
It's in Santa Cruz.
Oh yeah.
Oh right.
You're really smoking weed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cigarettes, and they say that the shit isn't killing many smokers.
See that? So
really?
Yeah.
That is fucking great to hear. Holy shit.
Wait, you guys didn't see that? They were saying that. I'm not...
No, I just heard lung disease and thought like I was fucked. I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to stop because of this. But it's good to know that I'm in a more
too big of an ass.
Cool. Which one of you guys wants to start with a story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start it off. I just came here because Steven has the deep background. I've been on some adventures, but have been, on a more straight and narrow path in life. But so like I think I have a good story to intro Steven and give you his vibe. So
all right.
Yes.
Dude, this sounds great already.
I like
so So I met Steven when we transferred to college, engineering school up here in Northern California. And I could tell Steven was like the most weird, interesting kid, like basically in our whole dorm, because he was like constantly like smoking weed and tobacco out of bongs, but also socializing with everyone. And I was like, I want to know this kid. So we started hanging out. And when I really realized he was weird. Okay, so we would always. You guys know determinism?
No.
Yes. B.F.
Okay,
Skinner,
so it's like
right? Skinner, right?
I think so. I mean, I think there's a bunch of people that talk about it, but it's basically like reality is a bunch of billiard balls. Nobody has free will, and your experience is like result of just atoms doing whatever. You know.
Okay.
So we'd always get high and debate about this, but Steven solved the problem for us, proving that he has free will. So we were in a physics class in our second quarter, and it's this long classroom, like 40 seats, like 5 seats to a row, something like that. And Steven and I sitting, 10 rows, something like that. Steven and I sitting in the front, up near the front, and we sit through the whole class paying attention, and like 5 minutes before the end of class, Steven just like absolutely no prompting has his folding binder, flapped it shut, got his stuff, walked not to the door, but in front of the entire long classroom, full view of everyone, over to the side windows where there's those folding windows on the ground to let air in.
Yeah.
So he folded it open, and he ducked down and just climbed his entire body out of the 3-foot tall window, and like our Turkish physics professor and the whole class is just looking at Steven like he fell silent. I don't know, but that was the only time I've ever seen something happen for absolutely no reason. Steven just decided to do it, and he did it.
I'd like to amend that I was sitting by the window, and I prior tried to put my feet out of the window. I was like, oh, I could fit out of this bitch. I'm going to. And I was like, oh, there's like a couple minutes of class left. He's winding down. Fuck it. So I just go, and I'm like, oh shit, I fit. I'm out. Fuck it. It was just a better way to get from point A to point B.
Were you stoned?
Me? Where I'm from? Was I stoned? Oh, probably. There's a very slim chance I wasn't. But in the moment, it was just something that I wanted to do, and it didn't seem like, in my mind, there was no barrier between that being awkward with the rest of the class. I was just like, fuck it, I'm already right here. Like, this is just...
I promise you, everyone was watching. He stopped his lecture.
Oh, yeah,
we were just impossible
That
not to pay
is
attention
amazing.
to.
Yeah, that's fucking incredible. Strong.
Yeah.
So, and I'd like to point out that in that point in my life, I like to have thought of myself as having mostly reformed from my more less refined ways. I like to think of myself.
This is good, Steve.
Right. This is like.
What'd you do before, Steve? Just sit in an alley and eat your own crap.
Yeah.
No. How old were you at this time?
Oh, the story we just told, I was probably 22 at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you were worse before that.
You're allowed. Right? 22. Jesus, you're a child.
Well, I mean, logic, I still am. Yeah.
Steven became a child.
Look like a big baby. I get it.
I mean, if you think that story's bad, I mean, most of my stories, most of the more crazier ratchet shit that happened in my life happened when I was a teenager, mostly taking place between 14 and 17. By the time I turned 17, I started making life decisions that led me towards the path that I'm currently on. The thing that I wanted to emphasize the most was the people that I met and some of the temperament that I have definitely played a role in leading to where I am. But at the end of the day, it was just so much luck that let me go from couch surfing every night and not knowing where the fuck I was going to sleep, not knowing if I had money to eat, and most of the time not giving a fuck about that. Yeah. If I had money, it was going towards alcohol or fucking tree. Fuck.
Yeah.
But going from that mindset to where I am now is a massive. It's been a massive just journey that at the end of the day, it came down to luck. It really just came down to getting lucky and having various things line up where I was able to get to the place that I am, because I couldn't have done it by myself. Like at every step of the way, there were people who were like behind me and who like were taking care of me. There's always someone who like cared for me in some way. So I couldn't have done it by myself.
So did you leave home young? It sounds like no.
So yeah, I went on and off with going home. There was a 4-month period where when I was 15, where I left home, and that's where a lot of the more crazy things in my life happened. Just because like I needed to get from point A to point B sometimes, and I was had to take drastic measures to do that. One story I want to talk about is the first time that I had to hitchhike. The first time I had to hitchhike. And when I say first time,
drastic measures.
And you're gonna hear first time right, and this was horrible, and you're gonna think like, after this, why the fuck would you ever hitchhike again? But at the end of the day, I realized like you have to. It's all about like where you set yourself up. It's all about setting yourself up to succeed. If you're gonna hitchhike, don't do it in the way that I'm about to describe. Do it in a nice neighborhood during the middle of the day, and you're more likely to get someone who's just going to drive you to wherever the fuck you need to go. But if you do it, on I don't know if you're familiar with Santa Monica, but I was at a couple of friends of mine's house, and I couldn't sleep there that night, so I need to leave. It was already like 10 or 11, and this is near Pico and 20th, around that neighborhood. Okay. And I was walking up towards Pico and Stewart because so I ended up finding a party that was over near Westwood and Pico, and that's several miles walk, and it's already 11. I'm fucking tired. I've been drinking and smoking all day. I'm not about to walk all the way down Pico to get there, right?
Right.
So my thought was, I'm gonna walk up to Santa Monica, take the 20 because I know that Metro bus runs all night. Mm-hmm. The 720 is not the 20, the 4. That's the one that goes up Santa Monica, or at least the Metro 4 at the time did. And so I was walking up to Santa Monica Boulevard. I walked a little east towards Stewart, and then I started going north. And I was like already fucking tired. Like I was like, I didn't even get to Olympic yet, and I was like, fuck, bro. Like I have to walk all the way to Santa Monica. Fuck it. So I stick my thumb out, and I kid you not, the first car that pulls past me pulls over.
No way.
First fucking car right there on Stewart and a little bit like Stewart and Victoria practically. Yeah, right there. And so this is the first and only time I've ever seen a car like this that is like just so ratchet. So the way, in a normal car, in the front seat, there's those little handlebars that you'll hold on to for safety.
Yeah.
Imagine that's where the origin of your seatbelt was, and you had to slide it around along a track to back where your seat was, and then strap it in. I've never seen
that's old
like
school
this.
Safety belts, man. That's just an old ass car. That's how they had it when they were first like, all right, you motherfuckers, you don't want to put them on? We're going to make you put them on. You put them on. You get in the car, you got to put it on.
That was the only time I'd ever seen this. And like when I saw this, I could recognize, seeing as how I've never seen it before, it obviously means it's old. And being a fucking dumbass hoodlum, I was like, yo, you should be wary. Cars like this are super easy to carjack because you don't need, like, modern day cars have a lot of protective measures against that. But back in the day, you could just stick a fucking flathead screwdriver in that bitch and twist the ignition and go.
Yeah.
So I warned him about that, and I also warned him about like how the belts in his engine you could hear like from coming down the street, like they're just that loud wheeling noise.
Yeah.
He picked up one of the Pep Boys over here. I love it.
Yeah,
Manny, Mac, or Joe, or whoever the fuck. That's awesome.
So I get to this dude's car, and he offers me a cigarette. I accept, and we're sort of smoking, get to talking, finds out that I smoke weed. And he's like, oh shit, I have a little bit of weed at my house, and my dumbass. Oh, let me describe this dude to you, by the way. So this is a tiny ass car with these shitty seatbelts, right? It's this engine that's all shitty. And this dude is probably he's like 6'4" and maybe like 350, 370 pounds. He's a big motherfucking dude that looks hilarious in this tiny ass car. So he's driving me, and he's like, "Yo, I got this a little bit of tree back in my house. You want to smoke some?" And my dumb ass is like,
he's picking you up at what hour? 11 o'clock at night.
11 o'clock at night. I'm like a 15, 16-year-old kid, and this guy's 40s, 50s-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you're lucky he didn't eat you alive, starting with the dick.
Wait,
my God.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
So my dumbass is like, sure, fuck it. I smoke weed, right? And so it turns out this is in this project that's like maybe 2 blocks away. I had never been to this project before, and I can't exactly remember where it was, but I do remember it being really close to Victoria and Stewart. And I was like, damn, I've never been to this project before. This is interesting, right? So I remember going to his house. There's this, and I've been to projects before. I've kicked in a couple trap houses. This is by far the worst, the most disgusting one I've ever been in. Mind you, this was a very, very small trap house. So imagine a very small square where all of the walling is torn out. There's no insulation. You can see all of the wooden planks of the housing, and there's just trash on the floor, almost to a hoarding level, not to like what you see on hoarders where there's stacks of shit you can't see through, but there's trash all on the edges of the room, just everywhere, right? There's like only 2 places you can sit in the entire box that is his living quarters, and they're on his bed, right? And so we sit on his bed, he passes me this pipe, and my dumbass, like anyone who sees is in this situation should be like, okay, if we're gonna smoke weed, I should see some green up in this bitch, right? Because that's how you know it's at least somewhat safe. If he's putting some shit on, it's like probably like angel dust or something hard to see, right? Yeah. My dumbass gets past a black ass bowl and he's like, here, let's finish this off and I'll go pack another one, right? And this is what I wanted to bring up. Like when I was a lot younger. At this point, I was already 15. But when I was younger than this, I remember thinking about people this age that I was in this story and being like, they all think they're invincible. They all think they can get away with whatever they want. And I'm not going to be like this. Lo and behold, this fucking story happened. And I'm like, fuck, bro. I've done way more drugs than this fucking dude knows the names of. Yeah. Whatever he's going to fucking try and drug me with, just fucking try it. Nothing's going to fucking happen. At this point, I had already had a decent amount of experience with a variety of mental inebriants. And I felt like there's no way I'm going to take one hit of this and get fucked up to the point where I can't like comprehend shit regardless of what it is, right? So I hit it, I put it down on his nightstand, and he's like, all right, I'm going to go wash my face, I'll be back in a second. And I'm like, okay, fuck it. So I'm like thinking about like, bro, I should dip. So I'm sitting on this bed, right? And right next to me, right to my left is the door. And like, I'm just like looking at the door, like just, I should leave. Like getting that feeling up in my legs, like about to just run, bolt. And then he comes back, he's like, done washing his face. And he's like, hey, so, you should let me suck your dick. I pay well. And I was like, oh, fuck. Instantly, as soon as I heard that last word there, grabbed the doorknob, I was out. I was booking it. And I knew that, like, I had cardio, and I'm a skinny-ass little drug addict. He's not fucking catching me. There ain't no way he's catching me. And he didn't. So...
Did he come after you?
I don't know. I was not looking behind me. So the thing was, this was a little bit after the time. This was near a high school that I had gone to prior, so I knew the area really well. Surprisingly, I didn't know this project, but it was just in, I guess, a corner of the neighborhood that I had never gone to for obvious reasons, I guess. But I knew the neighborhood really well because it was near a school that I had gone to, high school that I had gone to. And so I was able to just cut through the alleyways there and get across onto Olympic. And then by that time, I was fucking gone. I mean, obviously, I don't know if nowadays there's a metro that goes up Pico Boulevard or Olympic Boulevard. But back in the day, there's only the fucking blue bus, the 5, that went up Olympic and doesn't even go that fucking far. So that was a big problem, dude. Like,
dude, he's a lucky motherfucker because how long ago was this?
This was about, at this point, a decade ago, a little over that.
I mean, like, you got to be fucking, like, you got to be careful, man. Like, if you're going around and all of a sudden you're like, hey, you want to smoke a bowl? Cool. And then you just pop out of that bathroom with that fresh face saying, hey, let me get a piece of that. You might, like, if you're just picking people up, wouldn't you be scared that someone's just going to be like, fuck you, I'll kill you, or some crazy thing. Like, there's people, I don't know. I mean, balls on you for fucking hitchhiking, but also balls on him for picking you up because obviously he's a big dude, but still, like, big doesn't mean shit if someone's just going to fucking stick you in the neck with a knife, Like, it's, that's intense. Wow.
That's not even the end of the story.
So you just split.
Wait, hold on, Mike.
Story. So after that, I eventually, because of all the adrenaline I got, I made it to Santa Monica, and I took the 4. I took the 4 up to Westwood, and I started walking down south to this party, right? And I forgot to mention this, but my biggest concern and the whole thing that drove me to hitchhiking, seeing as how I'd never done this prior to this event, was my phone had like 2%. Okay, I'm not going to give numbers, but it was really low percent, and I was worried about hitting up the people at the party. I only had the main cross streets, at this time. I didn't know where the fuck it actually was. For all I know, it could have been like fucking blocks away from Pico and Westwood. I wouldn't have been able to hear it just based off the noise, right? So, and turns out when I got there, I couldn't. So I was lucky that I was like, I thought ahead. I turned my phone off as soon as I knew this. I was like, I'll turn it back on once I get to Pico and Westwood. I'll call the homie Ishmael and he'll come out and get me. And so I got super lucky and was able to. That's who it was. And
sorry.
And so I managed to get there, right? I get the bus. I walk all the way back down. I'm on Pico and Westwood. I call him. I have barely any percent less. It takes a bunch of tries, and I'm super lucky that I had enough percent to actually find this fool because he's already super fucked up. He's been at the party all night. It's fucking 2:00 in the morning by this point. So, like, obviously he's gone. It's hard to get him out here, corralled out here to get me. Let me know where the fuck this place is. So finally he gets me into this party, and the first thing I do, before I even step foot into the house, I hear my name, like, oh, hey, what's up, Steven? And I'm like, oh, fuck, who's this? And then I look down on the floor. I see some bare dude's ass fucking this chick who just said my name. And I was like, okay, that's interesting, right? So just fucking walk past that. And like, this is like looking back on this, I would never, like, Jackson would, like, and anyone that he's hung out with me would never have that fucking occur. Like, that is just such a, like, perfect example of the ratchet teenager shit that, like, Santa Monica people would do. And so I walk past her and him, and I get back into this party, and from there it was a fucking decent night. I mean, like, there are a couple things that happened in that, but that's not important. The important part is that I got to a party, I got to a safe place to stay, and I got even more drunk than I was before. So it was a pretty, and at the end of the night, like, excluding the way getting there, it was a pretty decent night.
Dude, that's a great story. I think I talked about my first hitchhiking thing, and it was kind of similar. Not like a dude trying to blaze me, but like trying to get to a party. Yeah, I understand.
Right.
I was 16. Believe me, I back it. I get it 100%.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because in Santa Monica, because a buddy of mine, he works for AT&T, and about that, like 10 years ago, he had told me he got sent to some place in Santa Monica, and he came in, and there was a giant Samoan dude with, like, painted, Lee press-on nails and shit. And he's like, "Where's the thing?" And my buddy goes and looks at it and shit. And the dude just, like, closed the door, and he's like, "Let me suck your dick." Like, same fucking giant, like, dude with Lee press-on nails. And he's like, "Fuck." He's like, "Sir, I have a girlfriend."
They were.
I have a girlfriend. That's a good one.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
I love it.
They're trying to pay
Santa
you.
Monica too. It's great.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I mean, it goes to show, like, I mean, nowadays that I'm at the age where, like as a teenager, like, I don't know if any of you experienced this, but I had when I was a teenager, I had other female friends who were my age, and they were dating guys who are my age now. And being this age now and thinking about dating girls who are teenagers like that is absurd to me.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, having those memories makes me realize how prevalent general pedophilia was.
Oh, no, for sure, dude. That's a big, no, for sure. That was a big thing in my, like, high school.
Yeah, mine too.
Was, like, that the girls, like, we were an all-boys school. We had a sister school that was all girls, and, like, half of the fucking girls that you wanted to date, that you were competing with dudes who were in their 20s.
Driving Camaros and shit.
And it's, driving Camaros and shit. And driving like Beamers. Oh, no, what's that? That 80s 325 iOS. Hey, what's going on, Chad? What's up? But like, it's just terrible. But and at the time it didn't really faze me, but now it's like, you look at someone who's even in their 20s and you're like, Jesus H. I mean, at a certain point you're not anywhere near there now, but when you hit 50 and you start looking at, you go out and you look at girls that are 23, 24, or 25, it starts. I remember reading, like, Nicholson talk about it, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, dude. He's crazy. Those girls are hot. Like, that's something you say when you want to be, like, elegant and sound sophisticated, but it's true. You're just like, oh, whoa, that's weird. You're a child.
I'm surprised that it happened like 10 years ago. When Steven was at it, I feel like you never hear. I guess we're not around people that young, but I don't ever feel like I see. People.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
What's so surprising to me, even today, like, I am not around any of that today. So that's why the memories are so jarring.
Right.
It's like, oh wow, it was so prevalent. I don't interact with people who were the age I was at that time now. So I have no insight as to whether or not it is just as prevalent today as it was 10 years ago.
Right, but like you don't have any friends your age who are dating 15-year-olds is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
That's why.
That's what I mean. Like because I know dudes your age, and like I said, I don't, I don't know about it either. But
they wouldn't. Hey, but if they were, they wouldn't tell us, Keith, because they nearly get boobopped real quick.
I have to say this, like, at least in high school in the 80s, it wasn't cool to date girls younger than you. If you were a senior and you were dating a sophomore, like, that was lame. Like, you should try to be dating, like, college-age girls. Or, like, the coolest thing you could do if you were 18 or 19 in college is, like, date a grad student. Or just be 18 or 19 in the world and be like, oh yeah, I'm dating somebody who like has a job. It's like that. That used to be the cool, like you'd see it in movies. That paradigm was a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it was.
I
think there was like those dudes in their 20s who were like, you know what I mean, hanging out at a fucking arcade, or whatever.
Yeah. Being perverts.
Like My Bodyguard type shit. So Steven, did you
My Bodyguard.
Did both of you guys grow up in Santa Monica?
Dude, he brings up My Bodyguard.
So I grew up all over Los Angeles. I had different phases in my life where I was growing up in different places. I spent a large portion of my life growing up in Santa Monica. I went to middle school and 2 high schools there. And Jackson lived in South Pasadena, which is another place that I ended up living.
Okay.
Where
it's like Pasadena, but it's its own city. It's like super chill, like nice.
No,
place.
I love South Pass. Yeah.
And then. Yeah, but
awesome.
Steven saw a different part of it somehow. He always found the weird underworld that was there.
Let's hear about it.
How'd you guys become friends? How'd you guys know each other? College? Oh, right. You said that's right. He was the weirdest, most interesting person in your dorm. Right.
He was. I mean, he was like basically always fucked up, but also clearly really smart. And like he was also giving himself his own haircuts with scissors in the mirror, so his hair was like out on like some other level. I mean, it was very obvious that he cut his own hair.
You know,
pre-COVID.
The fascinating thing about Steven is like, dude, everything he says, you can see he thinks it's 100% logical. Like, well, going out the window. Of course, why wouldn't I cut my own hair?
Cut your own hair.
I mean, until I got Jackson to cut my hair for me, that was just the easiest way to do
it. He didn't want to pay for it, and I was I gotta help you.
Did you have you had an experience in like the underbelly of South Pasadena, Steven?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, I'll tell the story of the first night that I spent in South Pasadena and how I ended up living there for a decent portion of time. So. I initially came out there because I was dating this girl who lived there, and this night was the first night that I was gonna stay or planned to stay there overnight. That we were like officially dating, and so that night I ended up meeting a couple of her friends, and she had like the side of her friends that were more studious, more like good students that Jackson would have known, and then there was the side of her friends that were more into doing drugs and getting drunk and staying out as late as possible. So. I ended up hanging out, getting along with that group of friends a little bit better. And the first night, she ended up getting this family issue and having to go home around 11, like a normal time for someone that age, right?
Yeah.
And I was left with all of her friends. And lo and unbeknownst to me, being a dumb fucking 15-year-old, apparently both of her friends at separate times of the night tried to come on to me without me noticing, so she was like ending up thanking me for like batting them away when I was just totally oblivious to any kind of advances by them. But regardless of that, so after she leaves, I ended up starting to talk to the people who have all the alcohol, right? So I meet this guy named Robert, who is an alcoholic, but also apparently allergic to alcohol, to the point where he would get rashes and need to be hospitalized virtually every night. And the way he phrased it to me was that and he also, by the way, I learned later in this conversation, is someone who works at Ralph's, the nearby Ralph's in South Pasadena. So it's like, you work at Ralph's, you get drunk every night to the point that you need to get hospitalized, and he claimed that he got an ambulance every night, which is, absurd.
What?
How the fuck can you afford that, right? So So I imagine that he was just super fucked up at the time. He got an ambulance one time and just conflates that with every time or something. We're basically at this point we're having this conversation. We're splitting a bottle of Jack, and we're 3/4 of the way, and we end up throughout this conversation we kill the bottle between the two of us. So he's more fucked up than he's fucked up, and it's the type of conversation where when you're drunk and other people try to talk to you and you're involved in this conversation, no, fuck you, get the fuck out. I'm talking to this dude about this shit that I'm super interested in. And it was just this dude's life who was an alcoholic, yet allergic to alcohol, right? So I met this dude. I ended up leaving him because I don't want to be around him for the point in time where shit goes bad, right? So I ended up meeting this, I can't remember his name, but it is this Indian dude. And he was the nicest man I've ever met, just in terms of just giving people he's never met before drugs. In that I was hanging out with him.
I love that your definition of the nicest man you've ever met. That's amazing. Yes.
He had no reason to be friendly to me. He had just met me that night, maybe 15 minutes prior. I had a better relationship with this other guy, Dar, who I'd met maybe an hour earlier than that night. And of course, me and Dar barely know each other because we know each other for a fucking hour or two, right? It's oh, you guys are clearly friends. I want to buy you both a pill of Molly, a giant bottles of water bottle each, and a pack of cigarettes to share. Which is if you've ever done ecstasy, that's all you fucking need, realistically.
You're set for life. Yeah.
For life, bro. For life. And mind you, at this point, this is post already having half a bottle of Jack, and about that, let's say, however much I got from Robert, in my system. So I'm already fucked up. And however much what other shit I was doing that night, I'm ignoring that because that was earlier. But. So I'm starting to feel really good. Of course, fucking I can't remember his name. It started with an S, but he's some Indian dude. And I was, super vibing with this dude because he's being super nice to me. And I ended up meeting a bunch of people that night, and ended up living with one of the people that I met that night, this guy Eric, for a little while, and collecting bottles, and just basically kicking it with a bunch of drug addicts. And Eric, some of them were drug addicts. But we ended up an average day living there would be we collect bottles with the 4 or 5 people of us who were roommates. I don't know. I had done this in other cities and not gotten as good of a conversion rate. But at fucking South Pasadena, this city nearby, we ended up getting $40 or $50 a day for the shit we collect, which is a decent amount of fucking money for collecting bottles, right?
Yeah.
And we split that between all of us, and we just spend that on money and
that's a good bum scam. That's not bad.
Exactly, right? But from what I've heard from a lot of my, at the time, from what I heard from a lot of homeless friends, that was about average. You panhandling, if you're in a decent spot, or exchanging, whatever the fuck you want to call it, you can make up to $40 to $80 a day if you do it right. Depending on where you are, what you look like, how you interact with people. But from people who were more adept, let's say, at Scavenging, it was about $40 to $80 a day. So we were doing, even by those standards, we were doing pretty good. And we were able to afford, if we pooled our money together, we could afford drugs for all of us. Usually just weed, because fucking you'd have to save your money for other shit. Ecstasy was $7 to $10 a point. So that's a little expensive for one for everyone. But that was the way we lived for a while, and it was a lot of fun. And it was a totally different, it was totally different from what Jackson experienced, having I'm sure a lot of family responsibilities and shit. Whereas for me, it was just the goal every day was to get as fucked up as possible and make as much money as he could.
Yeah, I was studying and shit. I was in the marching band.
Wait, did you go to South Pass High School?
Yeah.
Okay. Where'd you go to high school at, Steven?
Me? I went to 2 high schools. I went to Santa Monica High School. That's where I graduated from.
Okay.
And I went to private school for the first year to New Roads High School.
Oh, okay. Cool. Dude, I feel like we have to have Steven on for a whole 2 fucking hours, man.
You guys
we do. We got to get you back. We're bringing you back. That was the first thing right when you started, before Steven said a word, Jackson just setting him up, I was like, oh, this motherfucker's gonna need his own episode.
Yeah.
Dude, what about me? I've met some weird ass people in Santa Cruz, and Steven is the weirdest one I've found so far. So I keep him around.
I love your hype man role too. Just like
it's so good,
but it's also just like the mental patient hype road. Hype
this is what we do at school
like,
and shit.
This dude's crazy.
We work together. Yeah, I just take him around and I'm like, look at this.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing. Like, you want to get a load of something fucking nuts? Check this guy out. No, that's awesome.
That is amazing.
How are we on time, Charlie?
We're good. The next guy's going to come in any minute now, and then we got one more at 5:30.
Okay.
Nice.
Hey, have either of you guys ever seen a ghost?
Yeah.
You gotta ask Steven. I was hoping you would ask him.
All right.
Okay. Set up hype man job. We're both really scientifically inclined. We like to think rationally. I like, certain like interpretations of ghosts as like memories and stuff. But for the most part, Steven and I do not believe in paranormal shit.
Okay.
So when you hear this, the weirdness, yeah.
So this isn't exactly a ghost story, but it is the only supernatural thing that in all of the knowledge that I've accumulated of physics, I can't explain it. I can't explain what happened. So this is what happened. This was right near Venice High School. I was with like 4 or 5 friends of mine, all in ages from like 15 to 8. One of us was 18 at the time, and this is a couple of years ago. Nowadays, the California law is you have to be 21 to buy cigarettes. Back in the day, it was 18. This is when it was 18. So only one of us had recently turned 18, and we were walking towards Venice and Walgrove near Venice High School, where the blue bus was about to pick us up. We were about to go do some shit. I don't remember. Not relevant. But on our way to the bus stop, we see this oddly dressed dude. Even for like, if you've been to Venice Beach, you've seen weird motherfuckers. You've seen that tree dude walking around. Yeah. Weird people. But even for Venice, he was like, yeah, you could have just seen him as like any old homeless dude who has his own little fucking quirks. But he looked.
But he had a rub. Something was up.
Let me try to describe to you. Mind you, this is a long time ago, so I'm just gonna describe to you the most prominent details I remember. The most prominent details I remember are that he had like a dirty greenish low top hat, not like a fucking pop giant ass one, but like a low one, right? And he had these glasses.
Subtle top hat.
Yeah,
exactly. Right, and he was wearing these glasses that had oil. That like were the lenses had an oil sheen, like the color of like that rainbow oily color.
Oh Jesus! So he was a steampunk demon.
Kind of like that, right? And then the rest of his clothes I don't remember. I just remember him having a top hat and those interesting glasses with the rainbowy sheen on them, right? So one of us, I don't remember, it wasn't me specifically, but one of us goes and asks him for a cigarette, and because we see him smoking. And he's like, no, you're not 18. And it was, sure enough, that person wasn't 18. But that happens all the fucking time as a teenager. So, And as that has happened, at the time I was like probably like, 15, 16, a fucking kid, right? And that happened to me a bunch. And what happens, generally, if you want the cigarette really bad, like it's someone who has the type of cigarette you like, you're going to be like, no, fuck you, I'm 18. Like, how do you fucking know, right? And half the time, if you're confident enough, that'll be enough. The dude who did this does this. He's like, no, you're not 18. But he points to the person who is. He's like, you are though. And I'm like, huh, that's weird. And then I don't remember exactly who he transitioned this, but then he ends up pointing out all of our ages, and he gets every single one of our ages correct. And you might be saying, well, so that doesn't really prove shit, right? Like if he had just gotten all of our ages correct, but it wouldn't have really meant anything because one of us could have met him before and told us the ages and had this whole thing set up, right? The issue with that is that he got my age correct. And the thing about that is no one else in the group knew what my actual age was. So when he said my age, to the rest of them like, no, he's not that age, he's this age. And they were all defending me and being like, oh, you almost got it, but you fucked up once. So I'm the only one who really knows. They got all of us right. And there's no way any of them could have told him what our ages are because they didn't know what my real age was. Wow. So he had to have some capacity to see what our ages were. It's a very minor ability, but it's something to this day I just remember so vividly and can't explain.
At the very least, he's a super fucking perceptive person who just, spends a lot of time around people and is just like, I can tell, like the dude was smart.
Right.
I mean, that's 99% of it, but that doesn't make it any less fascinating to me. Like, dude, you know, I would have no idea how old you are. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, well, I don't know. Like, maybe.
It's a bunch of kids who all look about the same age, right?
Yeah. That's right.
We're all different ages, like from 18 to 15, 16.
Yeah. Fuck, that's great.
I got to let the next guy in.
All right.
All right, word.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Dude, we're going to bring you back, Steve. Yeah, and thanks, Jackson.
Thank you, guys.
For being
this is
an
so
excellent
awesome.
hype man.
God,
Dude, thank you guys
thanks
so
for the
much.
logic.
Yes. Thank you.
Later.
All right.
Later, guys.
Bye, brothers.
Dude, he was fucking great, man. That was great.
What's up, Julian? How you doing?
Hey, Danny.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you again. It's been a whole year.
It's been a year today, to the date, right?
Yeah, it's Seth's birthday again.
Wait,
yeah, that's so
you
crazy.
guys know each other?
We met at Seth. You know Seth, the one with the fucking forehead tattoo?
Oh, yeah, I love him. Yeah.
Yeah, we met at his birthday a year ago.
Oh, that's why I
today.
love Seth. He's a great dude, man.
Yeah, that's how I found out about the podcast, actually.
Oh, great, man.
Dude,
thanks for coming on, man. We're stoked.
Hell yeah.
Where are you in LA?
Yep, I'm in Encino.
Oh, cool. Okay, great.
Oh,
Yep.
nice.
Good old Encino.
Yeah, so got all the different recording things going.
You're not kidding. It looks high tech. It's like fucking Space Odyssey. You grew up in LA, Julian?
Yeah, I been here almost all my life, minus like a couple of years where I was studying in New Mexico. We've got a fun story about
Great.
that.
Oh, nice.
And I spent about half a year in New Zealand, just traveling, working on a kiwi fruit orchard, which was super weird. But yeah, most of my time growing up in the valley, tried to avoid downtown and the west side as much as I could, but you know, a lot of venues are out there, so
yeah.
You got to venture, yeah.
Well, where do you want to start? You can start wherever you want.
I guess I could just kind of go. I could tell a little bit of a story about. This isn't exactly my story. I'm telling it secondhand, and I shared it on the with the Instagram a while back.
Oh, cool.
But it involves a girl that I had met. She had started around a year after I was studying at this tiny little. It's basically a village of how small the city was. It was small, about the size of my high school, which is like 4,000 people on like a out of season when school wasn't in season. She was from Houston and used to do heroin good raves all the time. She would like gloat about how many partners she had and really into trashy shit as well, like always going to bars and shit. And I remember one day after like I was done with school, she had another year or so left, and I think that she was dating this guy from Cameroon for a while, and I was there for the summer, and we had hooked up really briefly, and like I hadn't checked my Facebook messages because you have like this set where it's like Facebook messages that are from people you don't know, and I checked it months after doing that, after sleeping with her. And it was like, I'm going to fucking kill you. And da-da-da. And I'm like, well, I'm glad I'm not there anymore. This guy hates me. But afterwards, I'm back in LA and she's coming to Los Angeles to live and work. And because her sister's here, all sorts of shit. And I'm talking with her about like this event that happened. She was going to this dive bar that I really loved. They had local beer on tap and you could get like $5 to $6 for a pint of, you know, basically malt liquor.
Yeah.
You get really fucked up for cheap. And the clientele in the bar always sucked, but you went for the beer. And she's telling me at this place, they bumped into these two cholos who were, you know, seemed kind of friendly. They're like saying, oh yeah, you know, you should come home with like to our place and, you know, let's do some blow. And this is rural New Mexico. So yeah, fuck yeah, blow.
Sounds like a party, dude.
Right.
Right.
And so they go back to this large estate, which should already be like a tip that like something's not right. But they go to this large estate and they enter the foyer or living room, whatever you want to call it, and there's just a chair in the middle of the room. and some ropes. Ooh. And immediately the guys try to bear hug them, manhandle them, and shit. Luckily, her boyfriend at the time, the Cameroonian dude, was a black belt, so he's throwing fucking chops everywhere, and they break free, and they run towards one of the nearest roads. But as they're running, they can hear gunshots going off behind them and shouting, and they got away from that. But I'm sitting there going like, yeah, that definitely happened. I wouldn't doubt that for a second. But ever since she told me that town had a little bit of a different, place in my head.
Fuck. What's the town called?
That's a different party when you just show up, and then you're like, oh, the one chair, huh? Okay, so I guess I sit there, and then the ropes, those are for me. Right.
See, when I was living with Sasha, I don't know if I told this before, but we would always have people coming over and they wouldn't ever leave. Have I told this before, Charlie, or no? No. I would have motherfuckers that would come, and then, like, we would go and pull couches off the street and shit. We had like 9 different fucking couches that didn't match, like we'd find them in the alley and be like, oh, this one's rad, we got to get rid of the other one. But then you get it in and you're so tired from fucking carrying a couch 6 blocks on your own, high on meth, that like you're not taking shit out, So we had all these couches, and then all these fools would come over to pick up drugs, and then they just wouldn't leave because there was like plenty of places for them to sit. And one night I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait, I just figured out how to get rid of everybody. I just have to get rid of any place for anybody to sit in the whole house, So I kick everybody out because I would go through these phases where I'd want people around me, and then they'd all be there, and I'd be like, I hate all these fucking people, and then I'd kick them all out. I'd lose them. I would like pull out like a machete and like chase fools out of the house, And then I saw everybody leaves, and I start like one by one pulling shit into the alley, and then I was like, wait, because Sasha will come back and she'll see that like I did this, and we'll try to grab furniture back. So I have to like destroy it to the point where there's no dragging it back in. So I think I took either like a chainsaw or an axe. I don't think I had a gas powered chain. I think I took an axe and just chopped up all this fucking furniture in the alley. Like. With my neighbor, like, there's windows that are watching it. So then fools come over and they would come in, and there was like one seat, and I would sit in it. And I would just sit in it just alone, like, hello. And they would look around there and always come in and like look and be like, wait, where do I sit? And I'd be like, motherfucker, you don't. You get, like, this is a drive-through. You get what you want and you keep fucking moving.
That's good. One seat.
Yeah, but that was my seat, and there ain't nobody sat in that shit.
I like that.
Yeah.
Someone asked what the name of the town was. Yeah. You'll love this. The town is called Las Vegas, New Mexico.
No way.
Oh, wow.
Swear to God. It's just about 2 hours north of Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Shit. Oh, okay.
Is it shitty like Albuquerque?
It's a different kind of shitty. So yeah. Albuquerque, there's like things to do. Las Vegas, during the school year, people would leave during the weekends.
Yeah.
But once the school year was over and it was during the breaks, there was just the townies, and that's kind of derogatory. But I really loved a lot of the people that I made friends with that lived there. So,
yeah.
Really charming. None of the like entitlement that you kind of find here in LA.
I hear you.
What are you talking about? What do you mean? I don't get it. Sorry, I don't get it.
It's so funny. My wife said that because of like this COVID thing. She goes. Everybody think because everybody in California thinks they're so much fucking better than everyone else, and it's like the
worst people are going to survive this thing.
Yeah.
The most deep demonic studio heads, like who's gonna survive it? It's gonna be like, God willing, me, but and the rest of us. But the rich people and like the dickheads, like people who are just like can afford to stay home for fucking months.
Yeah,
it's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucked up. But
or maybe like the politicians who are already all vaccinated. You know what I mean?
Oh, hey, what's up?
All I'm saying.
All right, no politics. We ain't doing it.
I'm just saying.
I'm the worst. Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
I'm just saying. Every time I see any of those from either side of the aisle, they ain't got no mask on. They're all hanging out and not social distance.
No, dude, I know. They must be fucking superheroes.
No, they're fucking vaccinated. That's what it is. Anyway.
No shit.
Let's go back to Julian. Julian, would you say your drug of choice was heroin?
Fuck no, thank God. No. I was really lucky in that, like, when I first started experimenting with drugs, like, I kind of knew that I didn't like a lot of things that I tried, and luckily I didn't really go for anything too addictive.
Oh,
good. The worst thing I which I still do is alcohol, obviously.
Yeah.
But not as much as I smoke weed, which is not really a problem.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I've tried all sorts of hallucinogens, and I'll still take mushrooms every year. But like, the buck kind of stops there, because if I always had it in my head that if I'm gonna do, like, I don't want to do blow because I know I'd probably like it. I don't want to try heroin because I'd probably like it, or I'd probably.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's just. Yeah. I just knew that, like, I'm gonna get addicted to those substances which are known for being addictive,
right.
So I should just avoid it.
Have you ever had a really bad experience on alcohol or any sort of drugs or anything?
Oh yeah, I've got a great story about 2019 with alcohol.
Ooh, that's great.
Yeah, I'll start with that. So it was March or so. I had just I was still going through the throes of, like, this really awful relationship that I had started. I tried to cut it off, and then it kind of, like, snowballed into this, like, horrible thing.
Yeah.
And have you heard of the new Scotland Yard in Canoga Park?
Dude, you want to hear the weirdest thing? I have a friend who goes there all the time.
Is he who is it?
Her name's Lydia. She's a massage therapist. Lydia, what is her last name?
That doesn't matter, but whenever I go there, it's usually because one of my friends who has a punk band plays music there, and I go for that show, and of course the ex is there. Not to my knowledge. I kind of knew, I had a feeling, but I get there, and so I'm like, all right, well, I bring an extra flask with me, like a water bottle full of, like, some shitty Seagrams. Yeah. So I buy. They only sell Canadian spirits, if you would.
Yeah.
You know, they only sell the fake shit, basically. Yeah. So I bought a drink, a rum and Coke, and then poured the rest of my Seagrams into that glass and nursed that.
Yeah.
And I was feeling pretty good. And so the band's done. I'm ready to go. I'm kind of done with being around this whole group. And I order a lift pool, and I'm heading on my way home. I'm really drunk at this point. I even took another drink, or bought another drink before I left. And in the lift, we stop at this TGI Fridays that's also in Canoga that got closed down recently. And it's just like some woman with black hair, so-and-so. I'm too drunk to even care. And we start talking, and she's like, oh, I'm going to the Dark Horse. Karaoke. And I'm like, I love karaoke. I have no judgment right now. Let's go. So instead of going home, I get out of my lift with some random woman and just basically tell the lift driver to fuck off and, you know, sing karaoke really poorly. It was like Jefferson Starship. And she's loading me up with drinks, and I'm obviously, like, my credit card is, you know, making its rounds for her and me, and like, I'm so wasted. I can barely see straight and remember most of the story at this point. We finally get another taxi, and she's been, like, whispering, like, I'm not gonna fuck tonight. Like, I'm on my period, and, like, we're not gonna do anything. But yet I'm going home with her in the lift, and I find out she's an amateur porn star.
Nice.
I don't recall the lift ride home, and I go back to her. She's got these two little chihuahuas. They're like, you know, and eventually one thing leads to another, and we have some form of, like, weird sloppy sex. And When I really came to, like when I really looked at myself for a moment, I'm sitting on the toilet because it's smart to piss after you have sex, and I can't piss because I'm still fucking rock hard. I couldn't get it off with this girl because I'm too drunk. But at the same time, I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to piss and I'm like crying because I'm so drunk and I'm like, what's going on with my life? And then I finally like squeeze a few beads of piss out and I go back to the over her bed. And
Jesus Christ!
She says to me,
I fell off the Zencast for a second and it was a blessing.
And she's like, "Oh, baby, I'm so sorry." And she's like trying to console me. It's like, "Do you want a back rub?" And I'm like, "Ugh," and I pass out. I wake up at 7 a.m. and instead of like, I had 1% on my phone. And instead of like ordering an Uber or something right there, I just walked to the bus stop on Topanga and Ventura. I didn't know what I was doing, clearly. But with the 1%, I ended up calling an Uber and getting home, taking a shower, going to work the rest of my day. And she's texting me afterwards going like, hey, like, oh, I can't stop thinking about you. And like, oh my, you're like so sexy. She's like trying to gas me up. And by the time I finally go back and see what she looks like, I'm just like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, you're cool. Like we should chat more. And like, yeah, I didn't go back after that.
Dude, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh
man.
Yeah, but that's alcohol.
Yeah.
It is the worst decision. It does make a very different kind of decision than any other drug, right? Like coke, meth. Most of those other drugs, like most of your decision making is chasing that drug. But alcohol, it's like you don't have to chase it; it's always there.
Yeah.
Like if somebody always, unless you're of a certain age where you're like, oh, we can't get beer. But at that point, if you have that serious an attraction to alcohol when you can't get a beer, then
alcohol is the only one where you wake up and have no idea what you did.
Yeah, that's the thing, like, right? Like, yeah.
Well, wait. Don't forget GHB.
Okay. The PCP.
You don't even wake up. You'll be walking and you're like, you just come out of, and you're like, whoa, like here I am in a different area code, How the
I've come to drinking, walking and drinking.
Yeah.
I've come to and where I've been like out for a minute, like and it's slippery, right? Like everything's cool and you think you're having a hell of a time and everybody's having a great time and you're like, God damn it, everybody's fascinating. This is a great night. And the next thing you know, you're just like, hey, and look at this. We're at a restaurant. That's fucking amazing. And I'm ordering right now. I'm ordering food. And I don't even, okay, cool. Yeah, no, it's a trip, man. That's yeah. It's dangerous. A dangerous beast.
Oh, yeah.
You have any other stories? Have you ever seen a ghost, Julian?
No, I don't believe in ghosts.
Fair enough.
Cool.
No, I'm not superstitious. I think astrology's fucking stupid. And
you ever take PCP?
Thank God, no. But if I ever ask for a cigarette from Danny, I might get one. I don't smoke cigarettes though, so that's good.
There you go. Yeah.
Just a lot of weed. I'm the type of guy who.
What's your favorite strain of weed?
Weed.
I know. It's a little bit amateurish, but listen, I've been smoking pot for 30 years. I'm just saying, like, what? Yeah, you don't lean a specific. There's nothing.
No, I mean,
like, oh yay.
I just like being stoned. So, like, at the end of the day, like when I go into a shop. And they'll tell me like, so we got this new like Purple Punch Kitties cookie hybrid West Coast. They're giving me all these things, and to me, it's just words hitting my ears, and I'm like, that one's cheaper. So like, maybe we could go with this $30 eighth instead of that $50 one. And edibles have been interesting. The first time I really got fucked up with edibles, I went to go see the 6th Harry Potter movie, The Half-Blood Prince. I actually walked out of that movie because the events went like this. We took these firecrackers, which are like crackers, peanut butter, and just nugs. You just eat that and it'll get you fucked up. And then we like like the Alzheimer's patients we will be, we were smoking out of a Coke can or an Arizona can.
Yeah.
And then grabbed some ice cream and then went into the theater, watched the trailers, don't remember anything. But then as soon as like Harry Potter starts, there's like rain and lightning bolts shooting everywhere and all this shit going on. I'm like, I gotta go. So I walk out of the theater and I'm lying on the bench outside of the door, and all I can hear and remember is just Hannah Montana blasting over the loudspeakers and hating everything. And then my friend finally comes out and it's like, dude, you missed the whole thing. I'm like, I know,
dude.
But yeah, edibles put you in a fugue. It's really bizarre.
Oh man,
I don't fuck with them.
I've never done them, but I've heard nothing but I've heard you're just destroyed.
Well, it's just that it's a different drug, man. It's like that. Literally, when you take it, when you ingest THC orally versus incendiarily or whatever vapor, it is a different. It turns into a different. It interacts with your body chemistry differently, and it turns into a different kind of drug. And now you've got this shit in your bloodstream. It's the only time I've ever freaked out, where you're just like, okay, this is it. The weed thing's broken. Like I'm fucking gonna be like this forever, and I guess I got to go to a mental hospital now. So that's awesome. Like it's such a bummer. Oh god!
Well, you get
so
like
many times I've done it, and like once in a blue moon. It's been wonderful, and it really is. It can be extraordinary, and you have this thing with pot. It's kind of like it becomes the experience that you'd always hope pot would be, which would be like kind of a really sweet, loving communion, kind of like, hey, this is rad. Let's put the Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young on. Like this is dope. This is what it's supposed to be. But that's very rare. Most of the time for me, it's just Mad Hatter style. So I just haven't in years. Oh, I love those glasses, Danny. Those are great.
Yeah. They're not helping with the sun. Like they're kind of like amplifying the sunlight that's just hitting my face.
But they're fucking good, though. They're really
but
good.
they do be looking fresh, though.
Yeah. He just put those on to fuck with Julian's high. Huh?
Julian's like, yeah, I gotta go. Fuck all you motherfuckers. My whole thing with edibles is like, so there's a weird body high that comes with them, where like you feel like, I think I've said this before, where you feel like you're going to start peaking on mushrooms, where it's the come up on mushrooms, but you don't ever get anywhere, like where you're just like coming up and you're uncomfortable in your own skin and you're like,
I don't like that feeling. I don't think that's fun. Like that, it's like, I don't think it's fun. I don't know. And I know fools who are like old school art dogs, and this is like, there's a lot of art direct, dogs, and they'll fucking tincture it, because like they're fucking just pounding, just like nail gun all day, and it's like weed makes that a little bit more entertaining or just a little bit more chill. And I have tried the tincture too, and it puts a confuse on me. Yep.
I made those for years. I made the weed tinctures.
Yeah. They're like, people love them and it's awesome, and but yeah.
Any other stories you want to tell, Julian, or anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I guess I could, before I run out of time, I'll plug some of the music I've been working on. So I have two projects right now. One is a solo project. I go under Broken Blythe. It's just my last name with the word broken in front of it. That's more like emo rap and the shit that like people over the age of like 20 don't tend to like as much. And then I had this other project called No Typo, 2 Ys. We have a lot of fun with that, me and my friend. We started it back in September 2019. And the goal is to make music that we can do dance music, but we really want to emulate style of the Gorillaz and Daft Punk, but more modern. So the last song I put out, of course, has a trap beat because it's modern-ish, but the next few songs we'll be putting out are going to be way less trap influenced and more pretty, if you will.
Nice.
Yeah. Send us a song and Charlie will fucking use his wizardry to fucking plug it in to play it.
Yeah, we could do a little. We could do a little with it.
Yeah, put in like a hyperlink or something.
Yeah, or I can even plug it.
I
can plug it. I can. If you send me an MP3, I could put it on into the podcast. If you're cool with that.
Yeah,
I'd love that. Actually, I could do that.
And then we'll all just be like in the we'll just use Mike getting down.
Yeah, the idea for that song too was
like that.
We wanted to copy, or not copy, but like kind of bite the country style that the Old Town Road song had, where like what it really is a Nine Inch Nails song that that they sampled. Some Swedish kid sampled Ghosts 4 or something, and of course it sounds brilliant because Trent Reznor is brilliant, and he probably made a boatload of cash on it. But I was listening to the original, and it's just like this really moving instrumental, and you're like, ooh, like where's this going? And like, you can blast that out on the street and no one would really know. They're like, is this Old Town Road? Like, what's going on? Why isn't it the beat dropping?
Yeah.
That's right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a fun little tidbit.
Yeah, it's a Nine Inch Nails. It's yeah. He's a trip, man. That guy's stuff is so he's a very interesting musician, but he's like it's so strange what a time capsule it feels like. But it's like, I think you could say that of like, I mean, the guy's like an Eno or like a Steve Reich. Like he's he's a monster. He's just got a huge. I love his soundtrack stuff the most. Like you wouldn't have ever known the movie. Experiencing the movie Seven would never have been the same without. Like that was an intrinsically him and Fincher and the whole thing. Like that was a whole phenomenon. Pretty rad.
Well, sweet. Thanks for coming on, Julian.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
sir.
Yeah,
man.
Hey, I'll see you 1 year to the day
at Korean Tofu House, maybe.
Yes, BCD nice. Tofu. Yeah, that's where we met. That was tight.
All right.
Stinky fish.
All right, mate.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, everybody.
Later.
Cheers.
Mike, you shaved.
I did, sir.
You look like a big baby.
First, I am a big baby.
You look like a big baby, man. That's a good look, man.
It's something. It's what I got. It's the face meat that I was given. Steve Reich, when I was in college, I was friends with very close with this guy and who was a experimental music.
That's right, I'm Holly, man. Yeah, like we should gab about that a little bit, but whatever. But
yeah,
weird,
but I'm a big fan.
A cultured dude. You seem like cultured
music for 18 musicians or whatever the hell it is. That thing there. That
he did all kinds of pieces where with just people who were clapping.
Yeah, insanity.
Yeah.
He's rad. Dig it.
Strangely enough, I'll talk to you guys about this shit. But did you know that Steve Reich and Phil Lesh from the Grateful Dead went to college together? Right?
No shit.
No
shit.
Yeah, Steve. Yeah. Back in the '60s, before he started the Warlocks. Hey, what's up, you guys? What's up, Charlie?
How's it going, man? Thanks for coming on.
Keith, are you in bed right now?
Yeah,
dude. No, wait, this is totally a Calvin Klein ad right now. Like,
wait, no.
Wait, Charlie's about to come in on the left and just put a little powder on him, just like, okay, Keith, we're gonna bring the girl in now.
Keith has been in every fucking room in his house throughout this episode. He started on the Peloton. Dude. This motherfucker was doing a workout on the fucking stationary bike, lifting weights. Wait, he finishes. No. He finishes the workout by guess 2. Jumps in the pool and in the pool, gets out, dries off, then chills on the patio. Now this motherfucker's inside.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
And still, you've been technically like, I couldn't even have the microphone here. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And Keith is like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's in the pool. I can hear him. He's fine.
Ukrainian Danny.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Where are you at? What city are you in?
I live a little bit north of Denver, about 45 minutes north of Denver. But I've lived in Colorado for a long time.
Oh, rad.
Yeah.
Are you guys on lockdown or no?
Yes, very much.
Okay.
So. My wife is in the healthcare industry, and it's kind of crazy, man. Like, I'm a musician. I didn't tell Charlie that before, but like I'm a performer, so it was pretty strange, man. Like mid-March or whatever, like everybody I know is out of work. Every musician I know, every bartender, people that work in the industry, the restaurant industry, the entertainment industry, everyone's just like out of work.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So I had, 6 months of gigs. That's how I make a living, like performing, playing gigs and shit. So that's just like gone now. It's pretty weird, man. It's been a strange thing. I've been locked down. If I seem awkward to you guys, I'm sorry. I haven't talked to other humans besides my wife and my kids for like a month and a half. So hopefully that didn't go too bad.
No worries. Not a worry, man. I haven't talked to a single human in 8. Well, other than this, virtually, but I haven't seen a single human, closer than a foot to me in 8
What's the
months,
scene in LA?
8 weeks.
What's the scene in LA? I mean, you guys are obviously
fucking locked down.
Yeah. All right. So like the first week or two, like nobody on the streets. Like it was fucking creepy. Like restaurants, everything just shut down. Where it was like we're going on lockdown, everything shut down. Like restaurants, like nobody could figure it out. Like there was just nothing. Like and it like one day on Sunday, it was like everything's cracking. I went to the gym on Sunday. Monday night, you're driving and there's nothing, nobody in the streets. Everything is closed. No coffee shops. Like the only thing that's open is fucking liquor stores. Really,
Remember,
and fucking fast food.
We were all doing the Jack Osborne episode.
Right,
and I remember
talking shit.
I remember that night, and I got into an Uber, and I was like, "Oh man, shit's going down. Like, I gotta go." I'm like, "Should I just go home?" And then I was like, "I'm gonna go to Stella and just get a fucking steak before. Let's just tuck in a fucking steak and a couple of martinis before this is it." I'm like, "This could be your last meal for a minute." And I went in and I was like, "Oh, it's still fairly crowded." And there was 5 cases in LA or something, or 4 cases in LA. And I wolfed down my meal and da-da-da. And everybody was like, it was fucking weird, man. Like everybody knew for sure. And when I saw my buddy Zach there, and I was just like, who I adore this guy, great kid, writer. And I was like, "Hey, brother, I'll catch you probably when this shit's over."
What have you guys been doing to like entertain yourselves? Because I'm having difficulties in that regard.
So are we.
Yeah.
I'm watching The Sopranos. I restarted The Sopranos.
Oh, that's a good call.
And it is, the last time I'd seen the show was whatever. I started watching it in '99, and we used to have these big parties where we'd get our friends together and we'd cook Italian food and watch The Sopranos and da da da.
You have no idea, dude. I was way in that, dude. I was hanging in North Jersey with like fucking Jersey people in 1999 before that happened. Yeah. It was crazy. They were playing the Sopranos theme. It was like a pop thing. They played it on Opie and Anthony and shit like before. It was like, really?
Dude. No, it was like a thing. Like everybody was in. And then it's interesting. It's totally different now. Watching it now, out of the cultural context. With the passing of James Gandolfini, it feels so much more like a pop cultural artifact. But honestly, it's I'm more impressed by it and more blown away by it than I ever was. Like in the beginning, it was like, oh, that's rock and roll, and now you're like, oh, this is a fucking symphony. Like these writers, these are the best writers, and they're coming up with such.
There's not a lot of art from the early aughts that like kind of holds up, and The Sopranos definitely does.
It's insane. That The Wire, but like the performances are just extraordinary, and the writing is
The Wire is the best thing I've ever seen.
Dude, The Wire is just
Love
next
The Wire.
level, man. That's next. That's next. When I'm done with The Sopranos, if we're still in this shit, The Wire's coming next.
All right, let's talk about some dope. You guys want?
Let's talk about dope.
Please.
I'm super plus to be here, man. I've loved your podcast for quite a bit. I got to tell you, the first thing I listened to, my friend Zach hipped me to this thing. I usually listen to like politics, a lot of politics, and I'm into politics, which in this day and age is like, it's like, you know, it's like being on acid all the time, anyways, you know. But I check in with my friend Zach. He's a really great drummer and a really great musician, but we check in with each other, and I was like, dude, I gotta find something else to do besides this because it's driving me nuts. And he's like, you should check out these cats, man. And I started listening to you, and the first episode I listened to was the one with Leonard
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ooh, you came in hot.
Yeah, I came in hot. And then the second one I listened to was with Jason from Canada, that cat.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
I was like, hey, I can dig these guys. This is like a podcast about being a dirtbag. Ever since I've been like, I can talk to these cats. So, what do you guys want to know about? I had a couple of things in mind, like something that you guys have not got into yet. There's a lot of different kind of drug people, you know.
Yeah.
There's like Hollywood tweakers, like my man Danny, and like East Coast fucking like money kids, like prep school kids that get into coke, and that's your deal, Mike. I moved to Colorado from Texas in 1995, and the thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about was like my trajectory of becoming a drug person happened very fast, and it was really loose, man. I grew up in Arlington, Texas, which is right between Dallas and Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Which is it's a terrible place. I mean, it's just fucking concrete jungle and just awful fucking racist people and fucking hooters everywhere and fucking it's terrible. and I had never been into that. Like everybody in my family was kind of like super racist and shit. And like from a very young age, I was just like I did not like being from there. I was into like skateboarding and music, like punk rock music and shit like that. And then my mom got remarried when I was about 12 to this fucking awful redneck, like shitty person from Mississippi. And I just checked out. And the thing that I found to like just escape from all that was music. I had a friend that I went to high school with that had moved to Colorado, and she moved to Boulder, and she was in school, and like I had this little crew of people that were like kind of like me, just like different people, artistic people, and things like that. And we used to like sit at this IHOP and just drink coffee all night. And one day we were all just like, dude, we got to get out of here. And we just all and we just all decided like overnight, we were like, we're gonna go to Colorado. Our friends there, we'll fucking figure it out when we get there or whatever. And another element of this was at this point I was super naive about drugs and things like that. I mean, I was kind of a dork, I played trumpet. I was into jazz and like I mean in the 1990s, if I played trumpet and like I never had a girlfriend. I was just like I was a nerd. I was like a full on nerd, but I had some friends and and we just like fucking split. We all got in our cars and moved to Colorado. And this was the summer of 1995, and I remember distinctly, like From where I was from, when you say like a hippie, I'd never seen a hippie before, really. Like the people that were hippies in Texas were like, like people with long hair that like listened to the Doors or whatever and smoked shitty weed or whatever. And like as soon as I got to Boulder, we moved into this place and like I'd never seen like dank weed or hallucinogens or anything like that. And the place that I moved into, like across the street, we were friends with all the people that lived around us. The guys across the street dealt mushrooms and weed. The guy that lived next door to me was like a ex coke dealer that had like a huge fish bowl full of Valiums. He's just like left in his. So like basically what I'm saying is like I went from a situation where I was like not really aware of any of that kind of shit to like the nexus of like just fucking hippie shit, like drugs everywhere, fucking like just crazy. I remember like when I went to Boulder, like the big place to play in town was called the Fox Theater. This is like this 600 person theater, and I was like, oh man, I want to play there someday. And like within 3 months, the band I was playing in booked there and played like a really big show, and people started coming to see us, and I was just like, this is really fun. And I was like, I was starting to experiment with like kind of a lot of acid. Like that band that I was in, like we encouraged that kind of behavior. There was just a lot of acid at first, and like that was pretty fun.
When was the first time you did too much acid?
Oh God. So the way I got mixed up with these guys was, and this is the mid 90s, so everybody still had phones, I had been like I said, I had been auditing classes, and I was in a bunch of music classes with these guys, and some of them were from the East Coast, and then there was this one guy, my friend, I'll call him Raptor, that's his nickname. He was a saxophone player. So and he was really really cool, and he was the one that first got in touch with me because I was like the new cat around town, and everybody like figured out I could play a little bit or whatever. And he called me up one day and he was like, hey, I got a bunch of gigs, you want to do these things? And I was like, yeah, sure. And like that guy, I had never met anybody like him. He was, like I said, I was really naive about drugs and all that kind of things, and these guys were not. So my friend, he got me all these gigs, and we started playing gigs in mountain towns and stuff like that. And he was hipping me to all these like really cool kinds of music and things like that. And he was really he did this thing where he was really into acid. So he would get a sheet of acid, 100 hits, and he'd take off 10 hits and eat that and trip on 10 hits of acid. And then
the good old 10 strip.
Yeah. And then he'd come down from that a little bit, and then he'd take 20 hits and he'd eat that. And he got up all the way to like 60 hits of acid. He was eating whole sheets of acid at a time. And so this was kind of like my sensei, right? And so within a really short amount of time, I was eating like a lot of acid. And I think the first time that I ate too much acid was probably, and like all these guys I hung out with were really great musicians, really really smart guys. And we were all into like pretty hip music,
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys know, but like Colorado is like it's a pretty hip music town. Like a lot of people come through here and shit like that.
Yeah.
And so, and this is all in 1 year, probably 95, 96. We're playing all these house parties and eating a bunch of acid, and I'm hooking up with hippie chicks. And we're going to like, there was this one spot up in Golden, Colorado. It was called the Mount Vernon Country Club. and like all kinds of like super famous musicians would come play there, and like we're like 19, 20, 21-year-old idiots.
Yeah.
Hippies, and like some of the cats I hung out with had huge dreadlocks, and we're just kind of degenerates, you know. But we would go to these shows, and it was like a country club, you know. So the first one that I saw that I wanted to go to was this cat Elvin Jones, that was John Coltrane's drummer. If you yeah. And so this was like the first time I was like a dumb little hippie kid, you know. I was like, oh, it's John Coltrane's drummer. I'm gonna get really fucked up and go see this fucking concert. and I go with my friends. I took a 10 strip of acid, and I show up to the place, and there's all these like fucking like super bougie, like people are dressed up, and like you know. And then I'm here with this like crew of just like dirtbag, degenerate little fucking like hippie kids, and we come into the place and we watch the show, and like about 15 minutes in, it was just too fucking much. I mean, you know, I don't know if you know that feeling when you take too much acid. You can kind of feel it like snake up your fucking spine, like the snake is just like coming up your spine. And imagine being in a room with a bunch of fucking like super wealthy white people. And,
Right.
and you're very self-conscious of the fact that you're with a bunch of fucking dirtbags. And you know, I had to split. I split. I went into the foyer, and I could still listen to the music, but I sat on this chair and I was just like holding my fucking head. Holding my head. Yeah.
Oh.
And this guy played with John Coltrane. I'm listening from the other room, and I'm just like, just having difficulties. You know?
Man.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, this cat walks up to me, and he sits in the chair next to me, and he's got this craggy face, and he looks over at me, and he starts talking to me. And what I hear is, and I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette, just like horrified. Like, and then he says again, and like almost immediately I put it together. So this is Ginger Baker from Cream, the drummer from Cream. He sits next to me. Do you know who that is?
Yes. Are you fucking kidding me?
No. I'm not kidding.
You're like the
fucking. At all.
You're like the like drugged out Forrest Gump of this night in music.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ,
absolutely.
Amazing.
And Ginger Baker sits next to me.
My good Christ.
And he's notoriously he's mean, you know. And like I look over at him, and I'm terrified. He's got these craggy fucking canyons of fucking like just skin and shit like that.
Ooh.
And he's looking at me, and he's asking me something.
In one of those.
What are you asking me,
what's
dude?
In there.
He was asking me for a light for his cigarette. He was asking me, and I put it together almost immediately. Like you have these like moments of clarity when you're on acid. Oh, that's fucking. And I knew who Ginger Baker was, and I was scared.
Yeah.
But he was asking for a match for his cigarette, and he immediately like got really mad at me and started. And I had no idea what he was saying, but he was cursing at me, and I've got a match, and I'm trying to light his cigarette, and he was pissed off, and he absolutely knew what was going on. Like this is some dipshit fucking kid that's like disrespecting this jazz concert or whatever. It was awful, just awful, just terrifying. You couldn't imagine being there more.
Fuck that dude. He could have been nice to you. Like, you know, he had a head full. You know that fool had a head full of fucking acid before in his life. Clearly, he's talking at you. Blah, 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 but I was like, that is.
It was
essentially.
It was his British accent. He was like,
that's
I couldn't understand. Yeah. And so, like, I pretty much just posted up on this chair. I'm just like, just like in the fetal position. My friends get me. They take me back to Boulder, back to my pad or whatever. Later that night, it was later that night. Like, I don't know if you get into that thing when you've taken too much acid and when you're just like, I need to focus on something. So my friend that owned the house, he had a huge TV. I put on Gumby cartoons. I just started watching Gumby all night. And I'm smoking.
There you go. Yeah.
And I'm smoking cigarettes the whole time and everything. And at some point, like, I noticed there's smoke coming up. I had dropped a cigarette into the couch and it was on fire and it was under my ass. It was just like having to navigate terrible.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh,
on acid. It's not good at all.
No,
for
it's
sure.
not good.
But that was fun.
Yeah. So did you eventually clean your act up? Are you sober now, or how long did that year stretch out for?
Well, I didn't tell you about the cocaine yet, so that's the next part. These guys I was hanging out with, we were starting to do really good in our band or whatever, and we had a friend, and I was still really into, we were smoking weed all the time and taking a lot of mushrooms and things like that. Your boy, was it Michael DeAngelis a couple weeks ago? Talked about
Michael Angelos.
Yeah. Talked about the heroic dose.
Yeah.
I did 10 heroic doses in like one summer. I mean, just like we were just eating acid all the time, taking 5 dried grams of and so to do the heroic dose, you're supposed to be in a quiet place. Fuck that. We were just like going to house parties or just like hiking up into the mountains or whatever and just like fucking tripping out, talking to aliens, pretty much.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, like, as always happens, like cocaine gets involved and that's never good. Like when you start with the and
that
so
booger sugar will catch up with you.
I was always kind of scared. I was always kind of scared of it because I grew up watching like Miami Vice and shit, and I was always just kind of like all the people on Miami Vice that were into coke seemed super shady or whatever. And so
I grew up watching Miami Vice too, and I was like, those are the people I want to be. Well, so I'm not smart. So keep it going, fellas. I'll be right back.
Yeah, do your thing, Mike.
The bathroom.
So at a certain point, like, it just kind of went there. We had this plug from Cape Cod, a friend of ours that was like really into fish and all that kind of shit. He had a friend, and this is kind of a rumor, but I do believe it. He had a friend that would sail from Cape Cod all the way to Colombia, around South America, and pick up like a couple of kilos of coke and sail back.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, like, literally, the first time I ever saw cocaine, it was probably half a brick, and it was in a freezer bag. It was probably like 4 ounces or something like that, and it was like that pink fish scale, like super pure, like. And I remember I was in this cat's living room and he pulled this shit out and he was like, "You want some?" I was like, my heart was all going. I was like, "I don't know, man. I don't know." He's like, "Dude, you should try this." And this is what absolutely wrecked me. He just laid out a fucking bunch of it. And this is with the kind of cocaine that you would do like a little nub and your whole fucking head would freeze off. And he chalked out like huge lines. He was like, "All right, just do that and put your head up." And it was just like, it was too fucking much. The very first time I did cocaine, it was probably like a third or a fucking half a gram of like the most pure fucking shit that you've ever heard of. And automatic, you get that feeling, if you have that experience, you're like, okay, I like this. And from there it was just like within a month or so, I was like fucking just like, I was hooked. you know, too fucking hooked. And like, I mean, that's been until recently. I'm about 9 months sober off of all powder drugs, things like that.
Nice,
so that's good.
That's rad.
Yeah. But I mean, it was a long time coming. It was fucked up because like, you know, you get those like, cocaine's fucked up because like you get these neural pathways put into your brain by it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And so,
I mean, that's just science, man. That's meth works.
It is
the same
science.
way.
Almost like simultaneously with that, when I was starting to get into coke, like I was hanging out with all these girls that were into it too, and doing like weird sex shit with them. And so, I mean, at that point, you're like a fucking rat in a cage. You're like a fucking research rat. You're just like reinforcing these things in your brain that like cocaine means sex, and it's all tied up together. And then at that point, it's like, fuck. I mean, it's like a reward center that you just like chase for the rest of your fucking days, you know? And so that's kind of what I did for the next 20 years or so.
Oh wow. You ever tried PCP?
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know. What you're talking.
I was thinking of your boy Lepke was with the Olympic the Olympic nut. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you're like, again, I went from like being a super nerdy kid that never did very well with girls to like snorting really good cocaine and hook in like, yeah, doing all that kind of weird shit.
Vic? Is that Vic?
No.
Hi,
Vic somewhere. Vic just got here. He's somewhere around here. I'll have him come say hi in a minute.
Please.
Vic just went to buy a beer.
I was gonna ask you guys, how do you guys all know each other? Because it's pretty remarkable, like the different kind of people you are, like scenes you're from or whatever.
Yeah. So Keith Wager is the common thread.
Yeah.
Keith, yeah.
That's
he's a legend.
Pretty much.
That guy's a legend.
Dude, he really is.
Yeah.
Yep.
He really is.
Sure. Yeah, Mike and I work together at the same production
I've known
company.
Keith for a long time. I've known Keith probably 20 years now, which is fucking crazy to me. But
wow. Did you guys ever party together, or were you all clean?
No, he was sober when I met him. I mean, he saw me probably party at different times, but no, we never had that vibe. And then Charlie and I worked together at World War VII production company, and then I met Danny through Keith, and then
And I met what actually happened is I met Keith like through being sober basically, and we would always just go back and forth and just tell stories, you know, and he would just be like, fuck man, we really got to do something with these stories, you know, we really got to fucking make something happen, like bring everybody together and like just have a way to fucking share these stories, because we hear it, you know, and we go back and forth and like, you know, and like somebody will hear, and Keith will be like, oh, you got to hear what like fucking, you know, this dude's got like some shit that'll top you, you know, and like we'll go eat after a meeting or whatever and just chill and just rap about it. And then finally we were like, you know what? Let's just fucking start this thing, you know, and like let's just see what happens. And it went from us like recording on literally our phones. We would have our phones without headsets, like laying there.
Listen to all the episodes, man. I know, man. I appreciate you guys doing all this. It's been good during the quarantine to like. I gotta say, man, the most classic episode you guys have ever done was with the cat from Canada, Jason Jardine.
Yeah.
Incredible, yeah.
I just listened to that the other day, and this motherfucker's talking about like extra people, like,
dude,
and like tripping out on some kid's fucking arm and shit. I was like, man, I can't tell stories like that, but I can get close. Or whatever.
we should get him on Zoom.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Back.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything else you want to plug or any other stories you want to tell?
If you guys, you know, like I said, I mean, I'm a lifelong musician. I can send you guys some shit to listen to if you want.
Dude, please, no, please do, and we'll play a song at the end of the episode, or we'll put it out there on the gram, whatever.
Word.
Yeah,
I appreciate you guys, man. Yeah, stay up.
Thank you so much. This is episode 50, and thank you so much for coming on, dude.
Episode 50.
Yeah. Stay up, cats.
All right, peace, man.
Awesome,
Take
man.
care.
Peace.
All right, thanks for listening to episode 50 of It's All Bad. We got some cool guests coming up. We got some merch that's dropping, I believe, getting printed this week. We have 2 songs that we're going to outro you with, one from Julian and one from John. Is that his name?
Yeah, John.
One from John. So check it out and let us know what you guys think. And keep sending us emails. Keep sending us your stories. We're going to try to do another one of these soon-ish.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work for Charlie, so not too soon. But
Well, it'll be easier. I think it'll be easier when we get back in person,
Yeah, for sure.
Because then they can just call.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully we'll be back in
Hopefully
person
that'll be soon.
enough.
Yeah, I think hopefully in June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll see how this
That'd
goes.
be nice.
We might have some plastic keeping us separated, but hey, it'll be fine.
Exactly.
And thank you to everyone for listening. It's been a great year, 50 episodes, and we're excited to keep it rocking.
Yeah,
guys.
Here's this is gonna be a simple song by Super Collider, which is John's band, and then we'll play New City Streets by Julian. And
all right.
Yeah.
Nice.
See you later.
Later.
Bye.
feels like I'm a copy, I'm very cliche. I reckon that I'd be famous by the end of the day. So you gotta ask me where I lay my head. Maybe in the truck, even sleeping in the bed. Track cars flying like a champagne, ignoring my phone like it hates me. Ring, 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 if I had a diamond ring, it ain't really but a thing. I'm a bull with balls of string. We can have a couple kids that I'll never see again. If they miss me, it depends. If I fuck up again, yeah, and again, and again, and again, and again, and dogs are off the sauce and they're barking at your boss, while the mud is not as slick and your horse is being a dick. And the farmers with the green, we can split some blues with tea or some Bitcoin, honestly. I'm just trying to live the dream. Got an open container like I could care less. Got the cutest girl in her favorite pink dress.